Nomad at Night, starring the one and only Nomad.
Yo, No Maniacs, welcome to the show. This is Nomad at Night. I'm your host, Nomad. And over to my right is Country Santa, rocking the hell out of the Nomad Network logo t-shirt. And down below him is my guy Triple R, who came to join us. I knew you weren't gonna miss this one, Trip. This is gonna be a good one. It's a lot of stuff going on right here. And my guy Kids, who's got some stuff going on right now that I don't want to speak to. I'll let him when he gets his chance to speak to that if he wants to. But glad that he's with us tonight, man, with a heavy heart, but he's with us tonight. That being said, man, let me welcome you guys to the show one more time. Nick is back there on the ones and twos, directing everything. So Poles got busy right away, wheeling and dealing. One day after the last preseason game, went out and got somebody help me out with Williams' first name. I can't think of it right now. Got a D lineman. Well, two D linemen, actually. He got no, that's Darrell Taylor. Williams, I can't think of Williams' first name right off the top of my head. Chris Williams, that's right. Chris Williams from who looked really nice. What little bit of tape that I can get my hands on when he was in Cleveland, their preseason looked nice, man. I got some particular things to say about that player and his skill set, let's say that. But Darrell Taylor, I was real happy about that, man, because I do think he can bring some particulars to the team, you know, as a specialist. I really think that's what they were after with Darrell Taylor, was a specialist, somebody that can really come in, and he's getting away from that 3-4 front in Seattle, and he can really put his hands in the dirt and pin his ears back, and on certain down and distances, he can really go after the quarterback, which is what he's really good at doing. And so without getting too specific about all that kind of stuff, we're going to go counterclockwise because Kids is going to give some pleasantries, and I think he wants to share a little bit tonight.
What it do, No Maniacs was cracking Sunday. We holding it down here. Definitely having a drink with you guys, so cheers to all you guys. We're going Ghostface Killer Kids for the night. Anyways, that being said, I just want to give a little bit of love, a little bit of a shout out to one of my closest friends, Carlos Cortez. A couple of months back on the show, I asked you guys to give him a little bit of love. He was in the hospital, with some heart complications, fighting it, and he made it out. He's been out for a while. I got to chop it up with him a couple of times, but unfortunately, I got word today that he has passed on, and touched me a little bit there today, just a little while ago. Again, good friend of mine, Carlos Cortez, huge, massive Raiders fan. So when I'm talking about Raiders fans out there, it's usually Deuce 1FX, who's sometimes out there in the chat with us, holding it down, or it's Carlos Cortez, who is, again, just one of the realest Raiders fans, huge football. One of the reasons why I love football as much as I do. He was, growing up, we were basically like the two ethnic kids growing up in a real white part of Canada, and it was even in the projects we grew up together. Again, things were a little bit different when we got home than it was when we went to school. But we kind of had the same experience, same lived experience. And he's just one of those guys that would check me, he just comes out of the nowhere and he checks you, that kind of friend. Hey, man, 40 years later, what's up? I'm coming through. But 40 years running, right? He used to come and check me after he left the project and after we changed schools. Again, Carlos come out of nowhere and come and check me, check my mom's at home. Anyways, man, just wanted to give a little bit of love to my homie, and while I'm doing it, a little bit of love to our homie Chris Washington, because it made me think of good old Chris, and all the love and support we got from him and from you guys during the time of his passing. So shout outs to Chris Washington, shout outs to Carlos Cortez, and shout outs to you, No Maniacs. Shout out to James Hunter, Plankster's with us today. Oh, wait a second. Super No Maniac James Hunter, I should have said. Super No Maniac Plankster. Cornelia Squall's out there with us. Aunt Mass is with us. Mr. Mayhem just jumped in. Smitty Q's in the chat. Super No Maniac King Booker World. Frank, I'm not going to butcher the last name. Frank, you know who you are. You know what it do. AC Adams with us. Dan Brown's with us. Who else we got out there? Juju jumped in the chat. Black Diamond. Patty Laura. I saw you out there, Patty. Hey, Patty. And if you're there, I'm sure Junior's not far behind. Shout outs to the Nodge as well. Let's chop it up. I know there's been a lot of changes here very quickly, and we'll see what that 53 might look like in the near future. Triple R.
Go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, just big up to all of the maniacs. Glad to be up in the place, and this is the time where it's coming down to nut cutting time, and we're gonna see who's gonna make it, who's not, who's gonna be good luck. Hope you play again. Who's gonna be on the practice squad? Big up to Wheeler, ACL, man. Just hope everybody can stay healthy and just compete at the highest level. Big up to all the No Maniacs. It's nice to be in the house to talk about what's going on. And we just dropped a video earlier over on the channel. It's Sports Chicago Style. Trip was working some stuff out, so go ahead and check that out. And also Chef Trips over there, Shea Trips, got the cooking joints going. So go ahead, Sports Chicago Style. Check us out over there.
You want to say you, Brian?
Hey, welcome again, No Maniacs. The season is getting closer. I think this is one of the strongest Bears teams that I've seen in very long time, if ever. Cuts are going to be it's going to be tough for them, but it should be a good show. Thanks for sharing your time with us, and take it away, Nomad.
Hey man, listen, before I go any further, let me send my good vibes to my guy Kids. Been doing this stuff with him for quite a while. He and Trips. We've been kind of locked at the hip for quite some time. And I know Trips knows when something ain't right with Kids. He's never off camera. He's gonna get on camera and he's gonna be him. I can sense sometimes in somebody's voice when they're going through something, because I know what it feels like to go through it. Recently while we were doing shows, I went through several tragedies like that, man, and it messes with you. So I just got to tip my hat and give my guy some love, man, because I know sometimes that this is the best thing you could be doing. It's something not related to what's really ailing you at the time. And I believe hopefully we can get together, man. We can have some laughs. We can have a good time tonight, have a good show, and make it all worth it for him for jumping on with us, because he could have surely sat down and said, you know what, you guys can do without me. And he jumped in with us and made sure he made himself present today. So I'm tipping my hat to him, sending good vibes to him and his guy, man. That's probably part of his unit, man. That's your tribe. So I know how that feels, kid. So thank you for being here, bro.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man. Let's move the heck on before
I feel you. I got you, man. I got you. All right. So listen, I'm gonna sum this up we're gonna talk about these trades in particular, the ones that we know about now. So do me a favor, No Maniacs. Keep your eyes on Twitter or whatever social media platform you tuned into or you flow with. Keep your eyes out. Who knows? It could be some breaking news that happens while we're on the show. I don't know. But something tells me Ryan Poles ain't done. Because I heard Flus, as you guys heard, if you watch that presser, last presser he did, he kind of mentioned that he was kind of concerned about that D line. And we got Zach Pickens, who's a question mark right now. We don't know the severity of his injury. I'm starting to feel like part of the moves that they made, especially Williams, was partly due to that. Now let's just start with him, and we start with the lesser move, and we'll move up a little bit. Chris Williams, practice squad player with Cleveland, spent a couple of years with Indianapolis with Flus. I'm going to point something out to you guys that Flus keeps saying over and over. Every single year we draft some guys, especially along the D-line. He's always saying, time and time again. How many of you guys remember Flus constantly repeating this? Defensive linemen take a couple 2 to 3 years to develop. Have you guys heard that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's going on is he's got a couple of guys right in that period bubble where they've been in the league 2, 3, 4 years and have had time to develop. And so with his time spent with talking about Williams over in Indianapolis, and he said he called him on the phone and told him, gave him praise about his growth and how much his game has progressed since the time they had 2 years in Indianapolis. And that's the first thing he did was give him praise for that. Why I bring that up is I think when you get a player, when you have a specific need on your team, when you get a certain player, I think that's important because it could be getting that guy right at the right time. He and Darrell Taylor, right at the right time at peak development when they're just now getting it. You know what I mean? They developed a little bit more than they're not that raw rookie. They've had a chance to really kind of, sharpen up their skill set, and they can bring more to the table than they could as a rookie, right?
And they also get more miles left, more tread on the tire than like a Ngakoue or another older free agent.
My guy Plank, hold on, he's making a stop. PSA, gifting memberships is 1 month. You do not get to choose who gets it. To receive, you have to enable it. Like, share, sub, share. Let's grow together. Plank is like the Santa Claus of the Nomad Network right now.
I thought that was Brian.
Country, he is you out of a job. You unemployed right now. He took all the Indians, Mrs. Claus, Rudolph, all of. That's Plank now, man. Shout out to Plank, man, for getting the memberships. Listen to the instructions he's saying on here. You have to enable it so you can receive it. So, man, leave that up there for a second so people know what to do. But back to what you were saying, Trip. Just repeat what you said.
Oh, I was saying also the two guys that Ryan Poles just traded for also have a lot more tread on the tires than like an Ngakoue or another free agent. And the purpose of trading these late round picks was, even though they may have been cut by their previous teams, now they're already on the Bears, and we don't have to worry about getting into a bidding war or another team scooping them up on the free agent market.
Yeah, I just like the what I've seen. Like let's talk about Williams for a second, because I watched him take a few snaps in Cleveland in their preseason, and what was interesting to me is they flexed him out to edge. So you see him on paper, he's listed at 6'3", about 303, 305. He came here and did a presser, and he's down to 285. And so that's going to give him some real position versatility here. I just don't know whether or not they're going to keep him when Zach Pickens is healthy. I would assume since they traded for him, they plan on this guy being on this roster, right? If you're going to make a trade for him, they plan on this guy at least lasting throughout the season. When you think, anybody disagree with that?
Well, I'm not going to disagree. I'm going to double down on the agreement because Keith Randolph is also gone.
True.
So put that out there, folks.
I like this comment right here a lot.
What's that? Oh, okay.
Maybe these trades are an exit plan for the guys who have not developed over 2 to 3 years and a plug-in until the guys like Booker and Dexter develop. Like, hello.
That's a good way to look at it. That's a good way to look at it.
Now, Chakwe, and I may be butchering it, but props to you, bro, because that's a big, that's a macro level view look at the Darrell Taylor signing.
Because like his comment here is exactly how I interpreted those two trades yesterday. Yeah. Because Dexter and Booker are going to be top shelf defensive linemen. It just may not be this season. They need to get some more development underneath their belt. Having these guys here is perfect for the lineup and the rotation. It's very necessary.
Well, if you want to throw up that image you got of Williams right quick, because I just I looked at his college tape when he was at Wagner. That's the first thing I did, kids. And he was a fat boy for the most part. What you're looking at now is a much more developed and refined NFL player versus what you saw when he was at Wagner. He's got his body. You can see the body fat's pretty much gone. I mean, you have to. I know you can't see the comparison I'm describing to you guys, but go back and look at some Chris Williams Wagner tape, and he looks nothing like this. And so you can see where it's paid off. He's down from 305 to 285. And that's just going to make him a more lean, more explosive pass rusher. And I like to point that out first and say that his snaps while he was in Cleveland in their preseason, he got some at the edge and he looked pretty good. So if they want to get some reps out of him at the edge on the opposite side of Montez Sweat, you got another big edge coming and coming with a lot of force. You can play that, especially on rundowns, So I think, a lot of people will probably say, oh man, it's just another guy. We went bargain hunting, all that kind of thing everybody does every year when we go sign other guys. I think he can bring a little something to the team. Anybody want to speak to
that? Sure. Williams here and also Taylor, that dude just got those eyes. It's like, he don't look all the way right in the head, which is awesome, and that's what you want in a pass rusher. So that's beautiful. But it looks like these guys are coming into their own, developing in the league. Haven't made a name for themselves yet, but have the opportunity to be versatile along this defensive line, like Coach Washington and Coach Flus, like the interchangeable parts. So, down and distance doesn't really matter because they're going to find that best matchup with the best athlete, whether it be inside or outside. And it seems as though, they obviously have a type of player like Cornelius in the chat saying they're the Nomaniacs, building the chat on the YouTube, the Nomad Network. But both of these guys have that relentless motor. Mm-hmm. And, they're going to play to the whistle. And they're going to chase you down from all angles all the time. And they're going to just be fast off the ball and unrelentless until the end of the whistle. So, it's going to be exciting. They may not be starters. They may not be on the first line. But when these defensive lines make those hockey rotations, and now these 285-pound dude is coming in quick off the ball, unrelenting. It's like, yeah, that's gonna make some differences late in games.
He's lean. I'm telling you, in order for you guys to realize how good he looks now, you got to go look at the Wagner film, and he looks like a different dude, man. That you saw James Hunter says he doesn't look 300 to me. That's because he's not. In this picture, he's 285, and that's what we're getting. You got that's position versatility all day long. A guy you can kick in, slide out. You can do stuff with that. Like Tripp said, they're all obviously always looking for guys like that, and they're looking for guys in particular at particular points in their career. I don't think it's just, we need a body. No, they're getting specific guys. They're getting specific guys, and they're both probably in the same bracket as far as contract goes. In the last year of that contract, and here you are with the opportunity to really put something on the table and put something on film. You can take that down, Nick. You can actually put something on film to make yourself some money. So you got that prove it year going on right now. And so I think they know what they're doing in that department, making sure they got guys they put into this system that can gel real fast, and they've got something to play for. And they play with a certain kind of intensity, especially when you're in that contract year, right?
Well, I just consider them high-end depth pieces, especially with, Keith Randolph looked good during preseason. It's unfortunate that he's hurt and, got an IR settlement and he's now out. You look at Zach Pickens, very similar situation. I just don't see him going anywhere, even though he is hurt. So they had to get another body to take on that spot. I like what Hutchins is also bringing in that area too. But I just see this as quality depth with solid motor. I think both of these players have a fair amount of motor when you're talking about Williams and Darrell Taylor. My 2 cents there. Mr. Brian, any thoughts, brother?
Yeah, number one, what Cornelius said about both of them have nonstop motors is absolutely correct. Also, not every trade or signing or whatever is for a starter.
Mm-hmm.
The past 3 years, Poles has built this. That's why I'm not worried about having dozens of draft picks now, because his first two, he did a lot of trading and he's built the roster up. Something that I found interesting, both of these guys that they traded for said pretty much the same thing about how excited they are to come here. What's that tell you what Poles and Flus has built and the culture here?
Yeah. I just, when I see these guys, I know that Brian is right, man. Now they've added a little bit of layer to their to this roster. And now you have, it's like you've given an entire camp to see some. One thing I need to point out too, man, I think everybody on this panel and everybody in the chat will agree with, the Bears have struck out every year in the UDFA market when it comes to D tackles. Can you think of one D tackle that's stuck that we've gotten since Poles got here? Not a one. Not a one. And so that just goes to tell you, it's not as easy as people think it is. You can just get a guy out of college and stick him into the NFL, and because he was a stud in college, you just automatically think he's a plug and all-star the next day. Nah, it's not that simple, man. You playing against grown men, million-dollar grown men, multi-million-dollar grown men who have a job to do, and that's to keep your ass out of the backfield and keep you away from making sacks. And they got to get their tool sets right. And so it goes back to what I was saying about they're being particular about who they're getting and how long those guys have been in the league. Just enough time to have gotten their skill set together, and you can see a different player. I bet you $1 million what Flus is saying about Williams is absolutely right. He's probably an absolutely different player than he was when he had him in Indianapolis. That's why it's a prime time to get him. And so I just wanted to point that out before I get to Darrell Taylor. I think it's real. This is a real easy call for Lewis. Real easy call. When they got a new defensive coordinator who I love, McDonald. He runs a 3-4 set that everybody's not. All edge rushers aren't a fit in a 3-4 scheme. You got guys that are used to really going after the quarterback, and that's what they do. Now you got them half the time dropping back in the coverage, and that's not his best skill set. So it's not that Darrell Taylor isn't a good edge rusher. The guy is productive. He's got 21-something sacks in 3 years, but he's got quite a few hurries too. Quarterback hits and pass deflections and all that kind of stuff that people tend not to think about because all they want to see is how many sacks did he get. This guy is productive when he can put his hands in the dirt and just attack upfield. You see how excited he was when he found out that he was coming to Chicago, and what do they play? Well, 4-3. You see how his eyes bucked and right. Exactly, Trips. That's what I was saying the day we did the breaking news. I was like, this 4-3 is going to allow him and his skill set to really take advantage. And so we have an asset, and I'll describe how Flus said it. He brings a skill set to the table that we don't have on the team right now. I would beg to differ unless we're going to act like everything just didn't happen with Daniel Hardy. I think Daniel Hardy brings that certain other skill set, and also Jacob Martin, who I'm interested to see what his injury status is. But Darrell Taylor, I believe that guy is going to be a situational edge rusher. I think you put him in on that NASCAR package, and you just let him eat. Just let him be a Doberman Pinscher and let him run. Don't be trying to get fancy with it and do crazy stuff with him. Just let him rush the passer. And if that's the value he brings to the table, I think we're going to be real happy with this trade.
I agree.
Yeah, he's good at that. He can rush the passer, that's for sure. How's that in spades? A lot of motor on that guy. I liked what I saw in film thus far, and statistically, kind of just screams rush the passer. I'm gonna have to look at some more film by way of his ability to stuff the run. Not sure if there's much film on that. I'll put that out there. So word on the streets is he ain't a run stuffer, but he can definitely get to the QB.
Well,
and
kid,
as far as I'm concerned,
I wouldn't run with that one so fast. I wouldn't say he's not Montez Sweat at being a power edge, but he's not as bad as people try to make it out to be. He's not good either. I'm not really fussed about that, right? Like, so he's not a world beating everything edge, right? And that's fine. We need a guy who can rush the passer and win his one-on-one.
I was going to say, wasn't that the same stuff they said about Yannick last year?
So yes, but so here's the thing about Yannick. Timing is everything, right? It's quite literally that. He was in there, he got the double teams, he ate the double teams. He got a couple of games with Montez Sweat in the fold. Montez got the double teams, he started to eat, then he got hurt. So in my opinion, it really doesn't matter who's on the other side. Doesn't matter, as The Rock would say. I should have, Anyways, it really doesn't. I think Austin Booker's going to be the guy on the other side, and he's going to eat. As long as you can win your one-on-ones and rush the passer, if you can also stuff the run, ooh boy, defense really starting to look nasty now. Huh?
Well, the other thing is with just have it like, said the other day, Flus talks about that second wave and just having that relentless nonstop motor, regardless who's in there. After a while, I mean, the other team's offense, they're going to be crying uncle before too long.
What do you do?
I just know that, I look at Seahawks. Seahawks is one of my Seahawks, the Eagles. They're like a couple of my favorite other teams. Just for the record, I say something I normally wouldn't say out loud, but like I wear other gear. You know what I mean? I don't wear just Bears gear everywhere. I do. I like color. I like a lot of different color. I got NFL teams. All right.
Well, you're closer to him than I am. Get him.
Let me be clear. I'm a Bears fan first. I got mostly Bears gear, but I like to rock other colors. So I got Florida State's my college team in Illinois, but I got every freaking college team, a shirt, sweatshirt, hoodie, something. I love the NCAA. I love the HBCUs, all that color. That doesn't make me less of a Florida State or Illinois fan. I got Philly gear, man. I got some of that. So I got Seattle gear now. I just like rocking colors.
James Jack Dreeper.
That's all blasphemous to me.
Nothing Triple R? That's straight out of your arrow, man. That was one for you and Brian. Nothing? All right.
Hey, they getting on me, man. They said no man betraying the colors. Scottish Bear said no man red flag.
Look, for me, I've been gifted. So one was on a bet. I had to buy a Ray Lewis jersey. All right. I bet if he wins a Super Bowl, I have to buy the jersey, and he won a Super Bowl, so I have a Ray Lewis jersey. I was gifted a Jim Brown, and that's it.
Oh, so you a trader too, huh?
No, hey, these are a gift and a bet. What can I do? I never never them. If y'all ever see me wear, y'all never
tell me you never purchase another team's gear.
Nope.
Don't do that,
like
kid.
what's funny? My son played for the Eagles. That was his his Pop Warner team. Nope. I'm rocking Bears gear to every Eagles game. I don't give a damn. I don't care.
Hey, Nas, you know what? I don't have that's now you say that. That's one of the don't send it to me, man. I'll get some stuff, but I don't have Washington Huskies gear. I should have some. I don't. That's one of the teams I don't have. My girlfriend gets so mad at me about all those T-shirts and sweatshirts in there. I've got every college team you can imagine. It's in there. Down the way to Mankato State in Minnesota. Nobody never heard of them. I got that shit in my closet. You know what I mean? But yeah, nothing wrong with wearing other team. Now, when it comes to like game week or something like that, I'm all Bears, man. game week or rivalry week or anything like that? What you got on, Trip?
The Chicago Enforcers.
Okay, well that's all right. You know what I mean? I can't knock that. In Chicago, you're repping Chicago. I can't say nothing like that. Other teams I might rock is like, anyways, forget it.
Now I know why Nomad's never on cam. Hell, who
There
knows
you go.
what jersey he's wearing?
He's sitting there wearing a Seattle Seahawks Marshawn Lynch jersey right now.
No, actually, I got if we taking the North and never giving it back T-shirt on with a pair of Bear sweats. So thank you very much, mother, for that.
You can say that, but
I'm telling you.
How would we know? How would we know?
I'm telling you, that's exactly what I got on right now.
yeah,
I'm
I'm
kind
really
of hot
7
because
foot
these sweats
tall
are
too.
kind of hot, man, because these sweats are kind of thick, man. The temperature going to be crazy in Chicago the next couple of days, man. Like, did you hear about that trip? Like 100 and pushing 110 degrees, man, and it's going to be probably warm all night. So I'm warm right now because I got these sweats on with this taking the North and never giving it back T-shirt on. But that was a good little stray off topic, man. So yeah, nothing wrong with rocking some other teams, man.
I actually do have a couple other jerseys in the building, but they're not mine. All right, that much I will say. They're not my jerseys. My son is a Steelers fan, and he also has a Marshawn Lynch jersey since I brought it up before. So those are in the house. I allowed him to do his own thing, but outside of that.
By the way, guys, I said that I will the next Nomad at Night sign up and do Superflex and sign up and get in the $60 league, and I will do that. You guys just remind me to do it. I don't know if I'll do it and then share it when I'm done doing it, and then Kez will be able to share it with you guys once he can show my name in his league, and so you guys will know that I'm in there that way. But I'm gonna buy the shirt, and then I'm gonna get in the league, and Kez can show you guys that. But also, man, what the hell we sipping tonight, homies? What we got, man? I just want to know.
Well, I got my regular degular, good old Appleton's rum and OJ. Don't drink this unless you are kids.
Appleton's and OJ.
Yeah,
Water.
last week. Water.
Regular ice crushed.
Good for you, Brian. I got a little water too, just in case things go sideways with the Appletons and OJ.
Hey, they trying to crucify me, man. But I do rock colors, man. I do rock. I rock everybody. Number one. I'm a Leo, and my green is my birthstone, so I got a lot of green. I got a green emerald set of earrings, so I do a lot of green. So I do Eagles, I do Seattle, I do all kinds of different basketball teams with green. So it just, if it's green, I like it. I like camo and that kind of stuff.
Whiskey,
Army fatigues and things like that.
Yo, Smitty Q, what it do, man? You're sipping nice, Smitty Q. I appreciate that.
I got Nick. He say he's not feeling all that good. He's getting him some, man. It's a lot of. I've been saying this for 2 weeks, man. It's another strain of COVID going around. There's a lot of people getting sick, man. So keep your guards up in that department, man. I think some whiskey, black cherry whiskey. My guy,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Smitty Q's drinking nice, man. Got the whiskey sour going on.
I like it. And my guy Buka staying true to the game, man. And with that water and that body armor, my guy King, stay true to the game, man. That's what it is. Let me see what else we're seeing in here. We're gonna talk about some more football in a second. I'm just kicking it with you guys. I think it's one of the nights we feel like doing that.
Estates, Bruja's right there with me with the Appleton Estates. It's nice. Nice.
Some gin and tonic. Let me see. Mayhem. He said he never took the vaccine. I get it.
The Nudge likes rum and OJ. I don't like. Rum and OJ was it was a mistake, right? Like it was a mistake to begin with. So in Jamaica, it's like the easiest mixture to have. And they usually mix it with Rand Nephew's rum, which is just poison. Just don't drink that. If you do, hopefully there's a bed nearby. In any event, that's just like the most regular drink. So as a young kid, used to go to these Jamaican. My parents used to have these parties with just Jamaicans and folks from the Caribbean, and that was the most regular drink. And one day, I got smacked in the eye with a shovel. Long story. Came back with an eye patch. Put my drink, which was a glass of orange juice, on a bar, and somebody put their drink right next to it. Theirs wasn't just orange juice. Needless to say, I got my first little taste of that, and I've been drinking it ever since. It's my drink.
I got to send a shout out to my guy Ant Moss, and I see you, Black Diamond. He chilling with the water. But Ant Moss said wild turkey and root beer. That's different. I love me some root beer every blue moon, man. My pops, God bless his soul, man, got me on that Barks root beer, and I love root beer. Every now and again, I don't drink. I hardly
Ricky Leahy, rum and coke is my favorite.
Root beer.
I'm laughing because y'all don't know about Ricky Leahy though. Y'all know about Ricky Leahy?
Nah, you let us know, man. What's up?
So Ricky Leahy. So that's like and his picture, right? So Ricky Leahy is like. It's an homage to the Trailer Park Boys TV show. So there's Mr. Leahy. There's also Ricky. At some point, you come to find out that Ricky is actually Mr. Leahy's kid. And his name probably really should be Ricky Leahy. So it's a really cool homage. But the picture that he's got there is of Julian, who's the other guy in Trailer Park Boys who always, at all times, is carrying a rum and coke. So rum and coke is his favorite. Like one of the best scenes of Trailer Park Boys is these guys are in a car chase with the police and they flip a car. The car flips and somehow Julian rolls out the car, man. You spill a drop. Julian still got his rum and coke. Grasping that, baby. And yeah. So shout out to you, Ricky Leahy.
I gotta tell you, man. You know what? I gotta send a shout out to it because there's some folks in Georgia, man, that I never knew. Like, if you want to just have, you don't want to be hanging out and at some kind of club with your girl and trying to be all ritzy ditzy and bougie. You tired of doing that kind of thing and going somewhere. You just want to have you a good old ass time and don't want to give a damn about nothing. Just want to get slapped ass, get folded, and then you can just crash. Man, go out to a trailer park. Man, those motherfuckers know how to have a good time. Those motherfuckers know how to have a good time, bro. I met some dudes when I was in Georgia, man. I had some of the best times of my life just sitting around with some cats like that. Just kicking it and have, you know what? It was just one of them, you know what? Life has been giving me lemons, so let's go make some lemonade. Just go kick it over there at the trailer park with the guys. Man, those dudes know how to have a good time. If you can get over yourself and don't look down at people just because of where they live at, man, those dudes have a good time over there. Some nice people, man. So I've had some of the best times, man, in a trailer park, man, down in Georgia, man. I had a really good time with some of those guys.
Man, shout out to Ricky Leahy again. Shout out to the No Maniacs, the Super No Maniacs. You guys are cracking me up in the chat, man. You gotta pace yourself. It's like a little thing you used to say there. That's a Trailer Park Boys thing.
We can. I think we spoke enough about those two guys. We can get back into some of that a little bit later. But what I do want to know is, since Trip, you just got here, man. You haven't given us your roundup on what you saw this preseason. Now, without getting into specific players, what impressed you about the Bears this preseason? I'm talking about, was it something schematically, how clean they were, how well they executed, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator? What was impressive about, without getting into specific players, about this preseason?
Well, I did like the way the coaching staff, the directions that they're going on both sides of the ball. On offense, you get Shane Waldron. While it's understandable that it was still vanilla, but you saw quarterbacks under center. You saw them in shotgun. You saw screen plays. You saw short plays. You saw medium. You saw long plays. So they practiced a little bit of everything without really showing anything. They got the starters some good work in without, forcing the issue health-wise. It's a long season. I get it. It's only so many reps are going to get you in preseason. And on defense, Coach Washington, while still vanilla, showed the propensity to show some pressure to get in that ass. Sent from all different levels, from linebackers, DBs, from all different directions. And it's like, yeah, okay, I liked where this is going. And there was not a lot of situational football, but in those situations, the team played good football. So coaching, the development of some of these players that we'll get into, but just being on their own pages, Flus laying back, looking like, some, big delicious old daddy, sitting on the sidelines all wavy and shit, talking about, offense coordinator, do your thing, defense coordinator, do your thing. I'm gonna stand back and do my thing, just kind of oversee it all. And that seems to be coming together as Flus and the coaching staff that have been here have also been developing as well as coaches.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that you pointed that out, man. I in the preseason, it's kind of hard for me to know. I think I can watch Flus's interview and I can sense the season. Got a little season salt on him, Trip. Got a little season salt. He ain't the same dude we brought in here with the bald face, with the old ugly 1950s, coaching shirt on, and somebody told him to get your game together.
Goofy ass looking man.
Yeah, exactly. Get it right. You had to get it together. Yeah, I could tell he's a little more seasoned. I don't know that he got this way on his own. I believe Flus, in maybe not the worst way in the world, is kind of like a stuck in the mud routine kind of guy. Routine, middle-aged man stuck in the mud, sticks to his routine, and that's what works for him, right? And I believe it took the insistence of his daughter, wife, and I think that the front office said, Flus, we love what you bring to the team. You create a great culture here, but we think you need some help with your coaching staff. And we're going to have to insist on us getting some parts, for the offense and defense, because we want to draft this quarterback and we want to elevate this defensive front and help the secondary out. I believe those were the conversations had in Hallis Hall in the offseason. Argue with me. I'm not going to say Flus was on the hot seat. There were some conversations we had on the show that would lead you to believe that, but we just don't know on the outside. But I can believe that there were conversations being had that led to some of these coaching changes, and some really good ones at that. So I'm just pleased to see what they brought into the building. But why am I jumping over top of people? Kids and Brian's got something to say about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give some love to King Booker World. At some point over the course of the last few months,
what did
you mentioned?
Can you pull it back up?
No, it's not something he said today, to be honest with you. This is actually some time ago. So shout outs to him. Either way, he'll know what I'm talking about. King Booker World compared Flus. Once he kind of saw the beard, he said, Flus got that like the Walking Dead Rick Grimes thing going on. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, and like it's like Rick Grimes. The first couple seasons, Rick was clean shaven and things was okay. He had his wife and things was all right. And then he found out the wife cheated on him and had to now take care of the baby. It's not his baby, and he took care of it in the zombie apocalypse. And like season 3, Rick Grimes is all grizzled. Now he's running his own. His own spot in the zombie apocalypse, and he's the leader. Things are going good, Rick Grimes. And I think that's like where we are right now with Flus. We're at that. Things are now stable. He's the leader. He's the chosen leader, and his troops are falling in line. And I'm even more impressed by the supporting cast that Poles has put around this team of zombie apocalypse football. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's really put together a really cool squad, and I'm excited to see what Eric Washington really will bring in the regular season, because if it looks like what we've seen, it's going to be crazy, and that goes double for Shane Waldron. So I'm happy. I'm interested.
Trips, let me ask you this specific question. And I already have the answer to it on my end of it, but I want your take. Do you think what you saw in preseason, the mentality, the energy, a certain style of football, do you think it's transferable and carries over into the regular season?
Well, yeah, because it's not only the style of football and the hits mentality, but it's the mentality which these players that Ryan Poles has been bringing in draft, free agent, and by trade all have those traits, those characteristics. They want to be great at football. They have those high intensity motors and they're just all about football. And when you fill a team with those kind of players who have that mentality, who share that mentality, you're going to get high intensity, high level quality football. And that's only going to ramp up as, the starters are all in and the season gets going and everybody starts, gelling together. So yeah, it's not only the mentality that's being coached, but it's also the character and the quality of the players being brought in on every level on both sides of the ball.
Somebody do me a favor and send to the Nomad Network email that you can see down. Let me take this comment down. You see that? The Nomad Network email is nomadlivepod2023 at gmail.com. If you can see it on the screen and you need somebody to type it in, say so. But right there on the bottom of the screen, the email is nomadlivepod2023 at gmail.com. Send me a picture of Flus. Not a picture of Flus, but like a silhouette image of Flus. And we're going to do some work on that in an artistic sense and try to make something out of that. I got a good idea, thanks to King Buka World. I'm just going to leave it there. Don't say it no more, King. You said it once. Don't say it again. I think I can play on that, man. I think we can move some merchandise on that. It might be pretty cool and funny to see in the stadium, just because I think I'm starting to, I always felt good about Flus. I felt good about him because he just reminds me of Tomlin. He reminds me of Harbaugh. He's got that mentality that, defense first, let that pace you, but, get the right people on offense to keep you in games and give you an advantage, get the skill sets. This team reminds me of the Ravens, the beginnings of the Ravens and the beginnings of the Steelers, and just perennial, playoff teams that always have a crack at it. You got that coach with a certain kind of mentality that gives you that chance every year, that demands this certain level of performance, And so I've always been hot on Flus. But, in the last season, there's some stuff that went on. Getsy was part of that problem. But the second thing was, and you know what? I've since pulled my gears back a little bit and gotten to neutral on this and said, you know what? Flus was only playing with what he had. But it was just way too conservative. And anybody knows if you play football long enough, if you play defense in particular, you're not gonna your coach will tell you what he thinks about the rest of the guys around you. You can be a stud athlete, you in your own right. But if the rest of the team can't really handle their responsibility in the right way, he's gonna call a conservative football game. Because he doesn't know how to be aggressive with those guys. He's not confident in them. And so I think we're gonna see a different Flus with the pieces that he needs now. I think we've got those pieces that he's been looking for. I think we'll see a different Coach Flus. Why? I think I'm going to hope and pray that Eric Washington has a really, really good, aggressive kind of imprint on what Flus is doing, because I just think we got some special coming up this year with the combination of those two minds together. I'm just going to give Flus. I'm going to take my hat off to him, because what I see, what I've been hearing getting preached about this offseason, Brian, is this principle, the standard. And now we're starting to bleed off onto the stage so that everybody can see it. You can actually physically see, that standard and what he's been preaching to that team the whole time. You're starting to see it on the field.
Well, I think it's the coaching staff that he's put together with Waldron. yeah, he's been handling the quarterbacks and calling plays well, but look how well the offensive line has played. What, one sack that they gave up, no crappy snapping the ball, and I don't remember them getting a penalty in the 4 preseason games on because of the offensive line. Washington has the defense just everybody gung ho. Flutes could that's probably what he wanted from the get go, but the guys he bring that just wasn't them. He could be the CEO that he talked about, and I think he's finally got the coaching staff that raises him up, just like how Sweat did with the defensive line. He raised everybody's playing style. Same thing, be coaches. It's like that in everyday jobs. You have the right mixture, and it raises everybody up instead of bringing them down. And I think that's what we're seeing now.
Juan G says Flus needs it. He basically saying Juan G saying, and shout out to Juan G. I don't know if you've been here before, but welcome to the community, man. Love to have you here. He said Flus needs to thicken that beard up as it gets colder. They have all those, you see some of those old. Oh my God, the worst thing in the world. You ever seen
Grizzly Flus?
Oh my! Hey, kids, have you ever seen this nasty images of Andy Reid with the snot icicles coming off his mustache? I think that's the most disgusting thing ever. You ever seen that?
Well, I'm very familiar with snot mustaches, just considering where I live. But I'm not going to hold that against one of the greatest football minds out there. If mustaches must freeze into snot stashes, then to win Super Bowls, by all means, snot stash away.
God, that's the worst. That's got to be the worst football image I've ever seen in my life. It's legendary. You're right. That is legendary, Jets B. But Lord,
probably can't afford Kleenexes.
I'm just saying, if that's how you win Super Bowls, bro, let's all have snot stashes then.
That is nasty work, man. That is nasty work. But yeah. So Brian, everybody got that. I feel like I think the preseason. I've seen a lot of really, really good, and it just, I can't wait to the regular season, man. But
on both sides of the ball,
yeah, man. Hold on, I wanted to. So, Brian, let's start here with you, and we'll work around back to kids. The O-line and D-line. Were you satisfied? Not just with the starters, because you barely got to see them. We didn't get to see a whole lot of them. But I thought it was important that Flus put the emphasis on the depth. And because I think that's where the most of your question marks came. Do we have the depth?
Mm-hmm.
This is the NFL season. Guys are going to be in, guys are going to be out. And your depth is just as important as your starting 22. And so I'll say my commentary. How did you feel about the trench depth throughout this preseason?
Right before training camp, the trenches was my biggest worry. Right now, I'm not saying that it's perfect, but with the trades and with what they've shown me in the 4 games, it's not the dire straits or the big problem I thought it was. And that's all on coaching to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I would see Are you done, Brian?
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Triple R.
I like the versatility of what we got going with, Bill Murray and Pryor, and then what's the center, Colvin?
Mm-hmm.
Carvin?
Shelton?
No, not Shelton, not the starter, Carvin.
Jerome Carvin.
Oh,
yeah. So he's fighting for a position, so the depth that we have that is trying to make this team is better, upgraded. It has been upgraded and is better than has been. You know, Jatari Carter looked decent. You know, I know it's not depth, but starter wise, Nate Davis, I know he has his issues with, you know, being on the field, but when he is on the field, he looks like shit. I mean, he's getting bull rushed by, or he'll get bull rushed and then susceptible to the spin off of it, and he's always giving up pressure like that. So it's like, if he was, you know, a very good player, but just for whatever various reasons hasn't been on the field, but he would be on the field, it's like, all right, you know, not saying he can coast or skip practice. We would like him out there, but when he's out there, we know he can perform. But when he's out there, he hasn't been performing. And it's like, well, you're supposed to be a starter, my dude. And it's like, nah, I don't see that. So when I look at what the depth is as opposed to what it's supposed to be, it's like, all right, so now if we do have to move one of those depth pieces up to be a starter, so now that kind of screws with the whole depth rotation. So it's just going to be interesting because they're just question marks that shouldn't be question marks in the form of Tevin Jenkins and his health and Nate Davis and his health. So I don't know. It's like, oh shit, it's exciting, but nauseating, and it's like makes you nervous, but it's like there's a possibility, but then there's also the possibility. So yeah, that's what I got.
Well, this is the NFL, man, and you know, attrition is that's the leader or not to your success. You know what I mean? Attrition is how much you can keep teams healthy. I think we were probably above the fray when it came to that. You know, I mean, we kept guys pretty healthy, knock on wood, throughout the entire preseason. We had some hiccups at the end, man, but most teams were, you know, they were bleeding depth as we watched games, man. It was one team, I can't remember who it was. It was just like guy after guy after guy. I mean, it was like important dudes too. It was like 1 and 2 in the rotation. I mean, I'm seeing dudes going down for the season, man. We were lucky in regard to that. You know what I mean? We were very fortunate in that neighborhood. But I just had to pause and say that before we pass to the Cares. What do you think about the depth of the O-line and D-line after what you just saw?
Well, stick to O-line. We ain't on D-line yet. We ain't on D-line yet.
Look, we'll all right. So if it's in either case, my thoughts on the depth of the lines, the trenches is kind of the same. In previous years, we'd see a massive drop off on with the second team, and I don't think we saw that this preseason. I actually think the second team, both offensive and defensive lines, were pretty solid, yo. Like I actually do. You know, to touch on the Nate Davis thing, like I'm not going to say how well he's performed, etc., but he definitely needs, and I think we have evidence of this from last season, he's going to need some time to get into quote unquote what I'm going to call Nate Davis shape, right? He needs to get in Nate Davis form, and because he hasn't been able to practice, it's going to take him a while to get there, and we saw that last season. You know, I think it was Peggy Kaczynski saying that, you know, she's not sure why people are down on Nate Davis because he performed well last season. And it's not a question of whether he performed well. It's really a question of when was he performing well. Because
he played like 2 games. And then he came back, he got rolled up on, then he was out.
Fair. He played more than 2 games. There's a few more than that, but it took him a couple of games to get into Nate Davis form before he started to play well and then got rolled up on, like you're saying, right? So that is what it is. It's going to take him a little while to ramp up. I expect him to be in Nate Davis form at some point during the season, but is that going to be in starting capacity during the beginning of the season? Is it going to, you know, and if it is, you know, are we going to have to deal with that rust for the beginning of the season? I kind of expect that to be an existing factor, and it may lead to, you know, a little time on the bench and somebody else starting over Nate Davis, which is just my 2 cents on that, right? Like I think it's going to take him a little while to get back into form. But on the other side, man,
Let's stick with the O line.
stick
Like,
with the offense.
One more question, Kez, before we get off of Nate Davis.
Yeah.
From what you remember seeing him on the field, do you think he's worth the starting position?
He has the ability to be an elite level starter in this league. Has the ability.
Wait, you ain't running for office, dog.
I'm sorry. That was definitely the political answer. You're not straight. It was. To be honest with you, I think Matt Pryor performed as well as advertised, and Bill Murray has as well. I like both of those guys as depth pieces, just in case Chris Morgan decides to pull the plug on what's happening with Nate. I think they performed admirably.
well, let me tell you what I thought were. I'm talking about the O line. I saw some pleasant surprises there. On the low end of the spectrum, Bill Murray. I don't think he's going to make the team regardless, but I think he performed and comported himself well. Two other real special surprises to me was
It's been Scrooged.
huh?
Sorry, I had to do it.
No. Listen, Jerome Carvin really came in here and challenged Doug Kramer for that, that at least that practice squad center role. He came in here and he challenged him, and I think that was the name of the game. Come in here and push Doug Kramer, and let's see if he can elevate. Because we spent 2 years with him, we've been developing him. We put him on the practice squad. Somebody scabbed him up, grabbed him, and we got him back. And we put some time into him, so that's why they grabbed him back. But we still need to push him in camp. Let's bring in Jerome Carvin. I think Jerome Carvin, looking at that film, I'm not saying that Doug Kramer didn't play well, because he did. Doug Kramer played pretty well, man. You just got to look at the boring offensive line tape, and it is boring if you don't like that kind of thing. But if you really want to evaluate and know exactly what you're talking about, and really when you come on a podcast, just have a competent conversation, you gotta spend some time looking at that boring shit. And it is absolutely boring. You gotta watch those reps, how many they take, and how they look on pass sets, run sets, and weighted both of them out. And I think Jerome Carvin is one of the quiet as kept, is one of the nice revelations in the offensive line camp. And he slid over the guard and gave him some reps there. Doug Kramer doesn't give you reps at guard. So if I had to say that, if one guy had the advantage over the other one at that role, I'm going to give it to Jerome Carvin, because he was position versatile. He was able to slide to the right and give him some reps there. I'm almost positive that they probably saw that way in looking at the film. And so I would say that Jerome Carvin and also Matt Pryor coming out and playing some good reps at Nate Davis's spot. That was really good. And the beautiful thing about this, Flu spoke to that as well too. That he can kick out left or right to guard or tackle. He won't play center. He's not a center, but he can kick out left or right and play each one of those spots. And so he's going to bring some position versatility to the team, and I think he'll make it. But when we get into the roster breakdown later, we'll talk about some of that. But you talking about some surprises, that was a real pleasant surprise. Also, Aviante Collins came in and played some nice reps at left tackle. So I just want to say I was more than pleasantly surprised, man. I was very pleased with the depth, man. I really was, man. I think we got some decent depth, and the coaches have done a really good job developing some of those guys and getting what they need out of what they're trying to put on the table, man. And these guys got it blocked up better in the passing game than they did in the run. I would just say that, and that's a different, that's something we can say collectively is different. We usually have it put together in the run game, but then struggle in the passing game as far as pass pro. But it was the other way around this preseason. And so I think that's a really, really good revelation, man, for the team. They're better. They look better at pass pro than they did in the run game. And that's crazy.
Well, yeah. So the depth looked better at pass pro. And that is crazy. That's awesome. And we know that once you put Big Tev out there, and I have to even say Nate, they excel at that run situation. So we didn't see a lot of that. Nate did not excel at the run situation this past week. I'll just put that out there too. He really missed a huge wham block for Khalil. But again, once Tevin is there, man, there's going to be some impressive running behind Tevin Jenkins, and I can't wait to see it.
They definitely look better running off the left side.
Yeah,
definitely look better running off the left side, and it wasn't. To be honest with you, it wasn't when Tev and Braxton was in it. They had some good reps, but they looked really good with the second and third guys, and it really did. So off of that, I think the offensive line was a very, very pleasant surprise.
My guy Bruja we're on some real deep level Canadian stuff here today, and Bruja says Nate Davis needs a visit from Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod. Participation is what it should say. He said participation. It's participation.
Well, speaking of Canada, it was a shame that we didn't get to see more of the Canadian Eagle.
See, that's what I was saying the other day, and nobody was trying to hear it. I think the Canadian Eagle is awesome, and I hope he isn't super hurt.
I don't want to see no more of that, man. Ever.
Oh, man, we don't need to see no more of that. Because like Flus was like, I ain't going down. I ain't being no parts of that shit. I ain't gonna be no mean. Like, put some clothes on, my boy. You know.
Sounds like us talking to you.
But the way that that Eagle was playing, he was playing. And I was like, oh shit. And it was like, then he got hurt, and so. But yeah, so what we saw of him is like, okay, you just look like you can play.
Man.
So, for practice squad purposes, depending on severity of injury, obviously. But I think he's somebody that, that we can develop and not really have to worry about, somebody trying to take him off the practice squad.
And you know what he is, Trip? He is what's the guy we have for the last few years, man, that's been in and out, playing all kinds of different positions, man. Everybody, we have an offensive lineman every year that people fall in love with. And for the last few years, we had, what's his name?
Got to be Dieter Iceland.
Dieter. We had Dieter, man. Now everybody with Theo, man. So that's just funny, man. That's some Chicago stuff, man. People fall in love with offensive linemen, man.
Look, again, he's Canadian. That's number one. But number two, all I can tell you guys is that BC team. That BC team was pretty crazy over the last 4 years, and there was zero. Like, I was afraid for my son to go out to Calgary and have to face off against this offensive line. I was like, man, these guys haven't had a sack on the quarterback in 4 years. It's like a ridiculous thing. I'm really glad he's left the British Columbia. I'm just saying, as far as Theo Bennett is concerned, really happy that he left. I'm happy that the other homie on the other side went to Detroit, and we're going to see that guy a couple of times this year, I'm quite sure. That being said, if we're a little bit light on the left tackle, if Bennett's healthy, there may be some room for him to do some damage. Go Canadian Eagle.
So on the flip side of this, I'm going to the defensive line. Saw some really good. You got to start there, but I normally would, but I'm gonna start with the bad news first. Biggest letdown on the defensive line. Before I'm gonna start right here and let everybody respond to this in particular. Keith Randolph was a huge letdown for a lot of people. He's already cut. They could bring him back for the practice squad. Who knows? But man, we expected to see a lot of people expect to see a lot more of what he brought to the table. They started off, I think, the first game or two, giving him a whole lot of one tech reps, 1 and 0, meaning lining up over the center and playing that technique. And later on, I think they bounced and they swung him out a little bit to see how he would go at 3 tech. And he kind of fell flat there too, and he ended up getting cut. But Brian, I think Keith Randolph was a lot of people's hopes and dreams, in that UDFA market when we got that guy. A lot of people hoped that he would turn out to be something, but man, he fell flat as a pancake in the preseason.
Yeah. I like that Hutchins for what little bit that we've seen.
We're going to get to him, but let's talk about Keith.
Well, I don't watch too many Illinois games, so I just, from what you guys said and what little bit of tape, it was almost like it just wasn't meant to be. He didn't do anything that impressed me. Trip?
Yeah, like James was saying, he was a UDFA for a reason, and I'm of the mind that any UDFA, any draft pick, any new traded player has a possibility to be something or somebody. And so, it's like, all right, Randolph, local kid from Illinois. All right, what you got, kid? And he ain't shit. And, the coach was just like, well, we try him here. It's like, nah, let's try him over there. Like, nah. Well, let's kick him out there. Like, nah. And so it's like, nothing personal. We got to get somebody in here who can do some shit. And
yeah,
so,
he got the opportunity.
So it's like if he, goes to the practice squad and is able to develop, or goes to another team and is able to develop, you're always going to be like, oh, damn, we had him and we couldn't do nothing with him. But, good luck. We got other players who have looked better. So, let's keep it moving.
All right. I'll be the pro player guy today, which is a weird shift in weird phase shift in dimensions for Sunday, but whatever. So Keith was hurt, right? So he came in, they signed him, he got hurt right away. Then they finally got the chance to throw him into a preseason game, and he wasn't all that impressive. I'm going to say very likely due to the injury that he had. He was decent at Ilney. I'm not sure, what other folks thought, but made his way onto the team. The real upside is that they had the opportunity as a squad to go and see him play regularly. So they knew what they were getting in Keith Randolph. They had a good understanding, a good idea. And that's also part of the reason why they paid him. They paid him up front a big chunk of cash. I think it was like $200K.
That was his contract. I think he got $25,000.
Okay.
Off the rip, he got that in his pocket.
Yeah, there was some sort of guaranteed portion of that contract that he got a piece of, which is again great considering the type of the type of prospect that they thought that he was. Once more, he came in hurt, wasn't able to really take advantage of the time that he was, the opportunity that he had due to the injury, I'd like to think. And he is leaving with an injury settlement due to that injury. It's unfortunate, Keith. They had to bring in some new guys. There's some other guys there that might be able to take over the position for us moving forward. But we'll call it an injury thing.
So I think they've been swinging and missing at D lineman in the UDFA market. I don't know why that is, but I believe some other guys that Brian almost alluded to came in and gave you some of what they thought they were going to get out of Keith Randolph.
Yeah.
I think Mallory came in and comported himself well, but more than that, I believe Hutchins came in right away and showed some worth. Right away, Jalen Hutchins came in and he flashed every time he got a chance to. And I just want to commend that young man. I don't know if he's got a chance to make this roster, this 53, but they've got to find somebody solid to back up. They got to find somebody to back up Billings and play that role. We need a big down in there because you can't. I don't look like you can count on Zach Pickens early in the season. I don't know what his status is yet, but if they're going to keep another big that can back up Randolph, I do like what I saw out of Mallory and Jalen Hutchins. I think they played their butts off. Probably more Hutchins than anybody. What say you, Brian?
Yeah, I agree on the Hutchins. Remember, we have until Tuesday. I know you want to talk about players here and now and all like that, and the reason why I bring that up, this is where it's getting it. If a team is interested in a player, you look at where you're strong at and find a team that where you're weak at is where they're strong at. Say, for example, Dallas Cowboys. Deron Bland, he's hurt for 6 or 8 weeks. So they need a corner. Where are we strongest at? Secondary. Maybe they can work out a trade. Cleveland, they need running backs. 3 of their guys are hurt. We may have a player that we could trade. That's still a possibility. I know that could go on forever in the podcast. We're only going to be on so long. But there's still so many ways that it's hard to come up with a 53 and who they're going to keep and who they're not going to keep because we still got 48 hours. Well, about 40 hours.
Well, I just wanted to focus on those 2 guys in particular along the D line and what we saw, what we should have saw, and what we didn't see. And we talked about the downside of Keith Randolph, but the upside is we got to see some nice play out of those 2 other guys, man. And I just was impressed with, in particular, Hutchings. It was some times when Mallory really impressed me too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Hutchings was just, what little bit. I mean, the theme this year seems to be they want that motor go 100%, and that's what they're doing. Go ahead, Trip. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, Mallory showed some things, but he looked more like needs to be developed more player. And Hutchins looks like he could be a little something. I don't know if he's ready, to hit the back end of the rotation like week 1 just yet. And then there was another big guy in the middle, Carvin, another C guy. Name started with a C, last name.
Coward. Yeah, he's gonna make the team.
Coward. So
trade for somebody. He gonna make this team.
Yeah. There's not as much top name, top tier talent as I don't think we would like. It's still a work in progress, but like every other room, the depth on the room in general is a lot better than it has been. And, trying to decide, the last 5-6 roster spots, that's some nice work that we working with right there. Power polls compels you. So it'll just be interesting to see what they think about, Hutchinson. It's Hutchings.
I think it's just
there you go. Yeah. Hutchings. And what they think of him, being that he's only been here like 2 weeks now, if that.
Yeah, he's just getting in there. I thought he played great so far. Wish they had a longer look at Hutchins. I have to admit, but again, I think they really brought him in because they weren't seeing what they wanted to see from Keith Randolph. Hopefully, they've seen a little bit from Hutchins that speaks to to his ability on the field. I think he's played very well. Coward's going nowhere. Coward's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like he was in the backfield a fair amount. Mallory's really a question to me. I'm not sure if he's going to make the team, except for the fact that they are technically down 2 linemen right now. So we'll have to see.
I got a quick question. What is Pickens' injury, and what is the timeline?
Well, so just to quickly nip that in the bud, there's no way in God's green earth we're gonna find out until game time. Like I'm just saying, there's no way Flus was gonna disclose any of that either. Either either it's an injury settlement and they're gone, or he ain't saying nothing, because he might be able to make some sort of a maneuver and or trade for those bodies, and he can't, they can't divulge what medical case scenarios would look like before, especially right now, while the 90s are being chopped up.
I'm almost less worried about Zach Pickens than I am about Larry Bourne, but that's all.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's actually really what I wanted to touch on, because he was asked point blank, hey, any news on Larry Bourne, when he came out and he gave news about Coleman and Ian Wheeler, I believe. They received their settlements. Sorry, that's the situation. Injury settlements are what they are. As far as Larry Bourne, no words. So,
yeah.
Any words on Martin, injury wise?
No.
No.
When they're out this long, he's probably got some kind of muscle. He's probably got some kind of strain or something like that, and he's just been working through it. But I don't know. I don't know whether to be concerned or not, because they just brought.
You have to be, man.
I'm trying not to be, but I just, the way my mind works, I just tend not to go towards that pessimistic way of thinking. I'm just going to be optimistic and hope this guy gets back, because I do believe in what he can bring to the table. But yeah, man, I think the trenches are probably that's probably the most questions you had during the offseason. That's why I wanted to concentrate there. I think we felt all right about the quarterbacks. I think they overperformed, based on the expectations we had coming in. I think if y'all want to talk about it, we can, but I do really think the quarterbacks, I'm not talking about Caleb, I'm talking about his backups. I do think they overperformed. The fact that we had a new offense coming in and, different verbiage. Yes, Tyson Bagent has played in the West Coast offense for a year, got 4 starts. What did he get, 4 or 5 starts? And he played magnificent under the circumstances, man. I think Tyson Bagent, if you do nothing else this preseason, you do nothing else, take a hat off to him, man. Tyson Bagent, he came and played like he had something to prove out there, man. And he was calm, he was cool, very, very composed out there. And he looked like a different quarterback than he did. He looked halfway decent when he was out there given the opportunity last year, but he looked like I could tell when, something's slowing down for a guy. And you could tell the game's kind of slowed down for him, and he was reading stuff and reading it right, man. So Tyson Bagent, shout out to him, man. I don't know what his status is going to be moving forward, but I do think his intent is to get somewhere where he can get an opportunity to push for a job. And I know it ain't here. So I think we got to come to that realization that you can like Tyson Bagent, but understand his heart, his will, and his intent is to go and challenge for a starting job that's never going to happen in Chicago. I think we can all respect that, can't we?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I also always thought that something that Ryan Pace said when he first got hired that fucktard never completed on was that we were going to draft a quarterback every year and develop him, and then flip him out into the league, and get the return of the draft picks for him, and just have that kind of mill going to have those resources to be able to do it with what we needed or wanted to do, but he never did.
Well, first of all, you got to develop the first quarterback.
Well, there's that. But then now that, we got generational Caleb Williams in here, and it's like, yeah, that's supposed to be his position for the next, 4 years at least, and hopefully beyond if he's any good. And so, teabag or any good backup wouldn't really be necessary. But the way players go down, it's like you got to have that guy on your team that is still young enough to, be developed just in case, because, you could go the route by saying, all right, we got the young rookie and we'll keep Brett Rippon, because he's an older vet and he'll be, good enough. But it's like if something happens to Caleb and he goes down for an extended amount of time, it's like, well, now we got shit at quarterback until he comes back, and then you get ripping. And I'm just planning for worst case scenarios, hoping that they never happen. But you got to plan for them, and just can't go in. It's like, oh, we got a starter. We don't need any, quality depth in that room. So, so I would pump the brakes before, saying, yeah, T-Bag is on the market like that. Now, if there was a good offer, second rounder or something like that, it's like, all right, well, let me holler at you. But just to flip them to say that we don't need them, I think it's a little premature for that.
Well, for one, Bajent still has another year on his contract. He'll be a free agent after the end of next year, 2026. Hopefully, Reed develops like Bajent did from his first year to second year. Now, if that is the case, then yeah, you can trade Bajent.
Then start flipping them. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So first thing to say, you ever watch Prison Break? Triple R.
Come on, T-Bag.
I got to show.
You call the guy T-Bag. I think of that creepy dude from Prison Break. But anyhow, Tyson Bagent is no creep, y'all. He is the real deal. I think what he's proven, Nomad, is that he should be given an opportunity to compete for a starting job in this league. So those are the things that I'm saying about Tyson Bagent. I think even though he's been in two different offensive schemes, I think he has the mind to manage it, learn it, and execute it. The real question to me about Tyson Bagent is simply, does he have the arm strength to really, hit those deep targets is what might be required of him. That's it. And I'm also the same guy who will sit here and say that I believe that kid has the due diligence to continue working and growing and getting better in that particular area. So I'm pleased by what he's brought to the table. I don't know if the Bears decide to trade him in some capacity. I see the number 2 being floated out there. Y'all crazy. But hey, if it happened, I was like, you got to do it, right? You just got to do it. My scenario there last week, and again, Carlos, rest in peace, dog. My scenario last week was if the Raiders come hollering at you and offer you a 4, you counter with a 3, right? That's my take on this. I think they can get a 3 out of the Raiders for Tyson Bagent, and away we go. How they handle the quarterback room moving forward from there, your guess is as good as mine. There's plenty of cap space. They could bring in a vet just for the sake of doing it so that there's somebody there who knows what's going on. But lo and behold, Rippon knows what's going on. He's pretty well versed in this offense, and he's had a pretty awesome preseason as well. So not to take anything away from him, young Mr. Reed's got a little ways to go just by way of growing into his role, but I haven't seen anything alarming or shocking from him. I think he's played very well as well. So imagine we're sitting here having a conversation about 4 Chicago Bears quarterbacks. None of them are named Mitchell Trubisky, Justin Fields, Andy Dalton. Thank you. Right, like completely different names, all fresh, homegrown products, with the exception of Rippon. But Rippon's doing a great job either way. So I'm happy to have a positive Chicago quarterback conversation. Let's continue to have that conversation.
Okay. I got a very, very interesting question for you guys, and don't be how about this? If you can imagine any more trades before this roster is cut down, or even after, where would they be? If you can imagine a trade, Brian, I think there's possibilities right as we speak. There could be calls coming in and how Hall as we speak. In fact, I expect there to be. There's calls coming in, calls going out about guys becoming available. Where do you see some trade possibilities and where?
Well, I already said Cleveland is hurting for running back, so I would dangle Herbert for the simple fact he's on the last year and he has
Even after
value.
Ian Wheeler is out for the year, you still would put him on the trade block.
Do what?
Even after Ian Wheeler is out for the year, you still put Khalil Herbert on the trade block.
Yes,
Why would you do that?
because you have Swift, you have Jones, you have Johnson, and you, if you want, you could have Homer.
Okay.
That's 4 guys.
Let's just throw something else in there to sweeten
Plus
the pot.
whoever gets cut.
There's people getting the running back market is always the freshest market out there. Fresh produce, y'all. Dalvin Cook's out there floating around. So
Old and a lot of injuries.
and he's not really. We're not really expecting him to tote the rock as a 3-down, right? A 3-down back. He's going to come in once in a blue moon if the need be, and you can pay him whatever the rate is if the need be, right? Khalil Herbert could be a 2 to 3 down back for a certain team. I think Cincinnati. You said Cleveland. There's a couple of places he could potentially go, and you could replace that if you need to with another back.
Well, there's a
before
reason
before you guys go any further, I want to ask the chat who, what, when, and where. Where do you see trades? If there's any trades, where would you trade? Where would you expect Ryan Poles to be receiving calls? What position would he be making calls for? Let me know let us know in the chat before we just let us know. We'll respond to him.
Well, I mean, I wasn't finished. I could tell you with Cleveland, like I said, I would trade Herbert to Cleveland and try to get, you wanted a wide body to back up Billings. I'm going to screw up his name, but that Sakai Ika from Baylor, 6'3", 335 pounds. There's your big boy.
You did say you were going to screw up his name. You warned us.
He screwed it up bad, didn't he?
Well, I warned you guys.
You did warn us. So
Just B is calling for a left tackle, a backup left tackle. He's talking about worrying about Larry Borum.
Okay, so, I got that one covered.
Oh, here we go.
All Dallas, right. So what else you got, Brian? You got something else?
I'm going.
Dallas, they're hurting at cornerback. I said Deron Bland, or however you pronounce his name. He's hurt. I would trade one of our cornerbacks, either Johnson or Blackwell. And the reason why I'm picking on those two is because they have some value. You got to give up some value to get value. What I would trade, Dallas has 2 offensive linemen. Josh Bell, 6'8", 304, 35-inch arms. Runs a 5'2", 40. His RAS score was 7.8. The other guy, I would try to get this guy, Matt. Well, Polish name.
Walensky,
something like that. He's 6'8".
I totally just made that up. I'm sorry, the notch.
Well, it's
you directly.
Waletzko.
Yep. It's not Walensky.
That's what I was going to say. But anyway, he's 6'8", 312, 36-inch arms, 5.03 40. Huh?
Go ahead, Brian. I'll just shout out PJ quietly. Go ahead. Finish up. Man.
His RAS score was 9.9.
All right.
Both those guys are offensive linemen. So the trade at Cleveland, there's your big boy defensive guy. Trade with Dallas, there's your offensive guy.
All right. That's a little controversial. What say you, Trip?
Hey, in the words of the sergeant there on Starship Troopers, you're my fill-in position here until you're dead, injured, or find somebody better. So whatever position that Poles and staff thinks that this player is going to be better than what we got, that's the position. I don't know what position that is or isn't, but whatever it is, it doesn't really matter because it's an upgrade in talent, in their opinion. And looking at where we have like depth, where the room is like the cornerback room, it's like, Jalen Jones and Blackwell, they've been here for a minute. We kind of know what they are, and it's like they're good, but it's like, yeah, we could probably get rid of them to upgrade another spot because, I know we'll get to that position, but there's a young guy there fighting for that job. And if we can give that to a young guy and let him develop on the team and then flip one of these older guys who we're probably not going to re-sign much longer for an asset, whatever position that may be, I'm not opposed to that at all.
Man, y'all missing some gold in the chat. I'll just tell you
Yeah,
guys.
that's what I'm at.
I had a feeling because I saw Brian chuckle a little bit, but let's give King Book of World some love here, man. King Book of World. I'd trade Nate Davis for a Gatorade vending machine.
Oh damn!
Now put his next tweet up.
So he comes there. He says, "I'm just kidding." And then Dan Brown follows up with, "The vending machine might block better."
Harder to move.
Oh man, y'all cold blood. I thought I was cold blooded with the whole Nate.
All right, so back to the point of Ryan Poles. I think his calls coming in because we do. I'm going to say my take, but I think there's a lot of calls coming in, a lot of calls going out, man. What do you think those calls are all about?
Well, there's opportunity to turn some of this depth into capital of some kind. And when I say of some kind, sometimes that capital may mean you lose capital, but you gain a player, right? So like we've seen with the Darrell Thomas, etc. There's a bunch of guys leaving this team, man. As much as we fell in love with them and appreciated what they brought to the table over the past 4 months, a fair amount of them won't be here this time 2 weeks from now, right? So it's just the reality of the beast. It's the nature of the beast, and we got to sort of roll with it. So those calls are going to be, basically opportunities for Ryan Poles to wheel and deal and make magic happen.
Hey, I just don't know what it check out what PJ said in the chat there. He said he likes that Cedric Van Pran, the center from Buffalo. If they try to stash him on their practice squad, he would snatch him up. And maybe not him specifically, but not only trades, but the practice squad people that are on other teams. Because when all these hundreds of cuts happen, by Tuesday, that's going to be a lot of free agents out there, just for the pickings, and then you got the practice squads. So there could be a young guy out there now that it's like, yeah, he going to get cut and they're going to try to stash him. Yeah, we waiting. That's what Poles is saying right now, looking at some of these other rosters.
PJ, I know you out there listening. Is Cedric? Did Cedric Van Pran, like? I will accept the answer being I watched zero Buffalo preseason outside of the one game we had against them. But is Cedric Van Pran having a hard time this preseason? Did he do poorly this preseason?
I think your answer must be yes, because if they already got him, to that status, then he ain't doing very damn well. Let's leave this. Everyone hit the like button and if you've done nothing else today, make sure you hit the like button. If you heard anything in this podcast or agree with anything, you thought the content was good, make sure you hit the like button. It does nothing but help the algorithm, but it's also free to subscribe. It's cost free and it is absolutely painless. And we need some of you guys, some of the new viewers, especially to help us out in that area, man. So please do us that favor. Thank you, Patty Laura. But go ahead, kids.
it's funny, but I don't know about the rest of you guys. I'm not as worried about that center position as I once was, though. Like I just want to put that out there. I don't, chat
Pleasant
sound off too, please. I'm not as worried about it because again, I've spent the last I think it's like six years watching snaps fly over quarterbacks' heads or be skipped across the ground. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm sure you're watching the same football I'm watching.
Mm-hmm.
This last couple of weeks here, I didn't see any botched snaps. Things were pretty clean. It was a clean operation from first team to fourth. So I don't know. Like, yeah, if Cedric Van Pran is sitting on a practice squad, by all means, grab the kid, develop the kid, because I would have put draft capital into that kid given the opportunity. That being said, even then, maybe you don't, because like the center position looks okay. At least I think it does. Maybe.
Well, I do think we're at I would say we're at a plus in that department. The calls coming in. See, I do think there's a chess game to be played because one, you got to play roster depth. You got to play roster bubble. If you're a GM, you got to know where you are on. You got to know where you are on priority waiver. So we're number 9 in that department, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to see who's strong and who's weak in number 1 through 8. And that means you may have to hold on to a guy in that neighborhood. Let's just say you don't really have a plan for, let's just say, to keep a Greg Stroman. But because that's a strength of yours and other teams are looking at your roster like hungry packs of hyenas waiting for you to drop them, you might have to keep a couple of guys just to make sure those teams come to you and not wait on you to drop them. You know what I mean? So there's that aspect of it too. There's almost like a chess game that you have to play. If I was a GM, I'm gonna, even if I only kept them for the next, week until the first game, if I only kept them for a week, at least I'm playing a game that I've got a little bit of leverage because I'm giving myself an opportunity to force that team to come to me for the asset that they want instead of waiting for me to put them out there for them to grab. Can anybody get with that?
Well, yeah, but you also gotta, justify keeping whoever that player is on the roster, and so now you got to give up, a player that you would be keeping had you, released that player, and so it's like, yeah, you're playing that game to get the higher draft compensation, but you could also be losing out on a player that you like that's already on your roster.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's a tough one, especially when the roster is as deep in these rooms as it appears to be. But in any event, as a GM, Ryan Poles he kind of has to look at what he has and pick and choose and judge, and more importantly, or just as importantly, have an understanding of what the competition out there needs. Right? To me, I would dodge and avoid the idea of trading within division under all pretenses, and you just look outside of that division and say, hey, who needs what? Here's what we have in droves. Maybe we can get something for it. Greg Stroman's like a perfect, like Greg Stroman, Jalen Jones. I would be taking calls. I think Jalen Jones is amazing. I think he makes a team, but I'd take calls.
I think Jalen is way too important to the depth.
Between Jalen, Blackwell,
bro, that CB room is so good, bro.
Stroman, there, and then Stewart. It's like, if you're looking at the depth, it's like, do you keep Stewart and like try to flip one of those previous 3 guys who've been there for a minute?
I would not have a problem with that. It might be decent capital to gain back, and again, whoever gets them. Like you're saying, Brian, if Deron Bland is down, Deron Bland had a a brilliant season last season as a DB for Dallas. And, if he's down, that's a huge loss for them in the secondary because that secondary without him was not very good the year before.
Well,
So-
according to the injury, they said he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks.
Mhm.
And
All right.
That's a good chunk of a football season.
Let me ask you guys this question. I think this is an easy answer. Where do you see our just straight up strengths as a position group? What position groups do you see as a strengths? And there's probably some incoming calls coming for some of those players. Start with you, Brian.
Easier to ask the opposite, but Ryan, go ahead.
secondary,
And that's what do you think?
yeah. On offense, geez. Maybe wide receiver. Like I said, I gave you the scenario why I picked running back. That would be the spots that I think they're strongest at.
Yeah, Trip, what say you?
Cornerback Scottish Bear saying he's not trading any corners, but you can't keep them all. So, there's, between Stroman, between Blackwell, between Jones, and between the rookies. And then you look at the linebacker room, and it's like, Baskerville played his ass off. Amen played his ass off. But then we still get the original depth of Jackhammer Sanborn, Edmonds, and Edwards. So that room is depth. So there could, and then Sewell, he got on the field, but really didn't stand out. But he didn't get a lot of reps, but at least he got on the field, which is good. And so, not everybody's going to make that roster, but there's depth, there's young depth, and there's older talent, but not old. And so between cornerbacks and linebackers, there's some assets there that I think could be valuable to other teams.
Yeah. Those two rooms for sure. So the cornerback room for sure, the linebacking room for sure. On offense, I would say wide receiver room, but I don't think there's really tradable assets there. I'll be honest. I think tradable assets basically begins and ends with your top three in that wide receiver room, and they ain't going anywhere. So, right, that's my thoughts there. Once you get past number three, things are a little bit questionable. I don't see them getting much by way of capital for the rest of those guys in that room. But linebacker room, yeah, to be honest with you, I hate to say something. Like, I'm going to say it, though. Hate to say it. But you could get a mint for Jack Sanborn.
I was going there, kids. You knew I was going there, too, and you beat me to it.
There you go.
I think they probably are going to be receiving calls for, and I know people, Bears fans don't get mad at me, but I'm just talking about incoming calls to Hallis Hall. I'm not the one answering them, and I'm not the one executing trades. I would just have to imagine that Jack Sanborn, maybe a tight end on this roster, but definitely Jack Sanborn, possibly a tight end, and definitely one of those DBs, one of those corners. Are you getting calls from? I'm not talking about the DBs. I'm talking about specifically the corners. One of those corners, Jack Sanborn, and attrition could put us in a situation where Jack Sanborn. I don't know how willing they are about trading him, but I gotta imagine he's probably getting some calls about. It would
being a UDFA to be able to flip him for something big. And it would have to be something big, first rounder, baby, at least. Because he can play all three linebacker positions, start on special teams, and do all at a very high level. And so he's your super sub backup at every linebacker position if necessary.
Hold on. Just for Jason Tway, I'm knocking on wood. It was at Plank. For Plank. We ain't gonna lose.
And so, any other team in the league, or not any, but the majority, he's starting at one of those linebacker spots. So yeah, he's got a big value on his contract and his on-field production. So yeah, so
No,
I
it's-
would prefer to keep him, but if the offer was there, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, they'd rock that right off of tape, if anything, because I mean, you didn't see too much of him this preseason. I don't think I didn't see him really. I remember him. I remember him being out there and he made one solid tackle, but that's about all that I saw from Jack Sanborn. And I ain't saying this like, Jack Sanborn should be out there in preseason hustling more. The guy's a G. I don't care what anybody says. He's all over the field when he's on the field. But that then kind of makes me like that linebacker room is real interesting, and I could see a bit of a shakeup there. And the reason for it is because Noah Sewell's been hurt, and because Ogbong Bamiga has he's just played himself into a job. If they cut that kid, somebody getting himself a wicked linebacker. Like about that simple, right? He 45 was all over the place all preseason. I just hope that was the case during his reps in training camp in front of the Bears brass. I would not think any differently. But if you have a guy like that who's stepping up, and you have you've already invested in a Noah Sewell, bringing him in, you may want to look at the situation where you can again boss up on development, right? So we're talking about an undrafted free. Like imagine this. Imagine we're talking about two, Tyson Bagent, Jack Sanborn, undrafted free agents that the Chicago Bears have developed and could potentially flip for decent draft capital.
Maybe kids, and I think people aren't talking about this right now. It's like, here goes Poles giving up draft picks again. Maybe he knows that he can recoup them somewhere on this roster.
You need 6 rounders.
And
anyway.
I mean, there's 6th and 7th rounders, but there's still draft picks, and people in Chicago get kind of getting a little tizzy about that. But we can all agree there's probably calls coming in for. I think we all can 100% agree that you wouldn't be surprised if Poles' phone is ringing for Jack Sanborn. You wouldn't be surprised if that phone. We got 2 starting caliber nickels, possibly a third one. And we got, let me see, nickel. I would say nickel, linebacker, to me, and Tyson Bagent. I think those 3. I think we can all agree on if there's getting calls coming into Hallis Hall, it's about those 3 spots at least. I think we can all agree on that, right?
I'd definitely be calling if I was another organization, that's for sure. Especially given what's been put on film these last few weeks. Now, Jack Sanborn's got game film for two years that you can back that up on. It's not same with Bagent, right? A solid year of game film on Bagent, 5 starts or 4 starts, what have you. Sanborn though is a little bit. Wow, Sanborn's a little bit different, right? He's been active and out there for quite some time. He started a bunch of games. There's film. If you need a linebacker,
do you know what? Scottish Bear? That's an interesting ass question. He just said, "Nomad, would you trade Reddy Stewart tomorrow for a 5th?"
I wouldn't, because Stewart looks like a ball hawk, and that's what we want. That's what we need.
Exactly what we said he was going to be
on a rookie contract.
Yeah, I think he's got. I think the upside says way more than a 5th round pick. I think we're talking about a 2. I think if we project them.
A 2. Ain't nobody doing that.
Shit. What is Stephon Gilmore was the exact same player when he came in the league. He was just drafted higher.
Don't get me wrong, right? Like Stephon Gilmore is definitely worth a 1st. Like I'd give him that kind of love. But that's after you put it on the field on film for the world to see and prove it with a Super Bowl ring, right? Like that's just a little bit different. Nobody's trading a 2nd for an undrafted free agent. That's just crazy.
And what's funny about it, kids, is the motherfucker might not even make the team.
But this is what I'm saying, right? Like, so what do you do with a room like that and like 3 really good, like I'm saying it's 4, right? Like 4 really good nickels. These nickels are all good. I don't know what I don't know what you do just with that position alone. I wouldn't trade Reddy Stewart. I'd want to keep him on the squad just for developmental perspective, like for purposes, right? Like I would want to keep him on the team over the course of the next couple of years and see what he grows into. I think we'll all be not pleasantly, like except for me and Nomad. Everybody will be pleasantly surprised. Both me and Nomad have been saying for time, like I think this kid has it. He just has those instincts. That's what he's got. So, man, I would not do that trade for a 5th for Reddy Stewart. Unfortunately, I'd be looking to get rid of one of the other 2 guys, and even that's painful.
Kid, you know what's beautiful about his situation? If he were to make the team, again, Bear Truth 9 just said it. Let him make this team first. Yes.
Yeah.
If he gets on this thing, his trajectory is sky high. I mean, it's gonna skyrocket if he gets in a game. If they keep him and he finds his way to the field, why? Is because we have pass rush now, and he is gonna be that much more effective. A guy like him with those kind of instincts, ball awareness, spatial awareness, knowing how to play in zone and put himself, leverage wise and angle wise in position to make plays, he'll just make them game in and game out. This dude is trajectory. If he gets on this team and finds his way onto the field, we've got 3 starting level slot corners. Blackwell, of course, Kyler, and now him. I'm just gonna say 2 and a possible. Talking about Reddy Stewart, but Lord have mercy, man. He, when given the opportunity, when he can watch and actually play on the ball, man, tell me that dude's gonna be special. I don't know. I hope it's here, but wherever he's at, man, he's gonna be special at some point or another in his career.
I agree with that. Go ahead.
I'm looking at AC Adam and Naj in the chat here. And they're like, between Strowman, Blackwell, and Jalen Jones, you got to keep Stewart over at least, Strowman. You want to keep Jones because he's developed. Okay, cool. Blackwell looks good. Cool. Strowman is good, but you can't keep all of those guys because they're all basically the same age, same, development level. And it's like, you got to keep the best 2 if you're only going to keep 2 out of the 3 and make Stewart the 3rd one.
So it's also, just given what you're talking about, it's also contract, like when is our contracts up, right? So I think we're getting closer with a Jalen Jones than anyone else. And I hate to say that, like Jalen Jones is he's a solid backup, man. He might not be the starter, but I don't see a lot of drop off when he's out there. He does a great job. Lots of game film for him, and it's all been relatively positive.
I could see that, kids.
You know what I mean? He's getting towards that place where they may have to make a decision on him next year, not this year, but next year. And if that's the case, then perhaps you get some capital for him and you allow somebody else to make that decision, considering you have a bunch of other guys behind him that are developing quickly.
I just know this, man. Whenever I see Ryan Poles making trades to give up capital, he sees a way to gain capital elsewhere. And what we have to figure out as a fan base and people that do podcasts like us is where did he see that he can make up ground. And I think we're in the neighborhood. We're somewhere in the sphere of what Ryan Poles is probably thinking, where he can gain some of that capital back. It's probably in one of those 3 spots, either at quarterback with Tyson Bagent, at linebacker with whoever, and then in the secondary. I think he's going to be able to recoup some of that draft capital back.
Let me ask you this about draft capital. If Keenan Allen is not re-signed to a longer-term deal and is let go, is there a comp pick for him if he
Mhm.
signs someplace else next year?
Is there? Say it again, Trip. Say it one more time.
If Keenan Allen signs on a different team next year as a free agent, do we get a comp pick
Yes.
for him?
I don't know how that's set up. If I
Yes.
believe you, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
unless the Bears sign another high price free agent.
Yeah, I don't know the formula for
Well,
compensation.
it's
compensatory.
how many you lost and how many you signed.
I wouldn't worry about that. Like, that's like the last thing I'm worried about on the planet Earth. I'll be honest with you.
Well, but that's just a way to recoup picks.
I know.
He doesn't want to re-sign Keenan Allen. It's like, all right, we gave up a 4th round for him, but if we don't re-sign him, we're gonna get whatever the comp pick is back for him, a 3rd. Okay, we move up.
So, I like I said, I have no idea how that really shakes out, because in the end, they can just sign somebody else. That's why I'm, you know what I mean? I'm if they sign somebody else and can still land a compensatory pick, that's actually super cool. But I'm not sure if that's how it works. I think you have to lose the player and get the pick.
It's almost like a value. If Keenan is probably, as long as he's healthy, he's going to start every game. If he signs with another team in Chicago, signs some scrub backup wide receiver, yeah, they would still probably get a 3rd or 4th pick, compensatory pick. Now, if they sign, a starting wide receiver from somebody else, then it may break even, or they wouldn't get a pick.
I'm like the Nas. That's too much goddamn thinking for me on a Sunday.
Well, that's what sort of where I am. I'm not sure how. I don't know how it breaks down. So to me, like the whole Keenan Allen situation is going to be real interesting at the end of the year. I expect him to get 1,000 yards, if not more than that. That's kind of what he's been about for the last 5 years. So I wouldn't expect any different. And when we get to 1,000 yards with him, we should maybe sign him. I don't think Ryan Poles is going to sign him. Like, I'm just being as vanilla as I can, right?
It's all about production, man. I think we way too quick on the trigger there.
Well, I think there's enough cap room for them to sign just about any receiver they see fit. Like, it's the same contract money that you could be giving a Justin Jefferson, who might be on the market next year.
When you got DJ getting into this shit and going out there and trying to, DJ is going to be here for the next damn 6 years or so. You know what I mean? When he's going out there, and that's the first thing he's telling you, that's the first thing I did was call DJ, like, what you trying to get? Let's get this shit done for you. If that's going on, there's a little tea leaf saying that there's probably, and it all does still depend on how well this relationship goes and how well his production is. I can't see DJ Keenan not getting the numbers he normally gets, man. He's going to be a nice, Caleb is going to need those outlet, guys like that. The guys that can really, really get open. They're going to do a lot of doubling DJ Moore to try to take him out of the game. So he's going to really have to lean on his backs, his tight ends. Keenan, who's a route just technician, who's nice in short areas. He's going to depend on guys like that. And I'm talking about early in the season. So I think Keenan's going to have a lot of value. I mean, a whole lot of value.
Yeah, so no. Not knocking his value. I know exactly what he's here for. And I also expect him to do that job. Like, I think that job gets done this season. But, unless we go super deep into the playoffs and or win the Super Bowl, we win the Super Bowl, he's in Chicago next year. But I have a strange feeling again, just simple dollars and cents. They could put that money into a much younger carcass.
You being a tightwad. I love you, kids, but you being
tight. I'm not being a tightwad. I'm just spending the money, bro.
And it might be necessary, depending on the money of the team. if it's fitting, you don't want to mess up chemistry. I'll just say this, man. We were talking about, when Ryan Poles makes moves and starts trading draft capital, he's looking to recoup it elsewhere. And we ended up here talking about Keenan and his contract. I'm just kind of reshaping the conversation because the truth is it's a lot of phone calls, a lot of conversations being had, and he is gonna want to recoup some of that draft capital, maybe get some higher draft picks for what he gave up. But we've got some pieces that, quite frankly, we can afford to let go of if we need to get some stuff. But I don't know if he's saving it for draft. I don't know if he's saving it for a trade. You know what I mean? At the deadline or something before the season starts. There's a lot of intriguing stuff going on here, man. If you gotta, sometimes the GM can tell you what he's thinking without telling you what he's thinking. And when you make moves like he just made, giving up back end draft capital, knowing that you're gonna be able to recoup, when is he gonna be in the recoup phase? Is he trying to get somebody before the season start? Is he trying to wait to the trade deadline to use some capital? Who's he gonna use to get some of that capital back? All that stuff is worth a conversation. And I think we're in the neighborhood. I'll just say that.
Well, now remember, we're talking about Ryan Poles, and this past draft he had 1 and 9, and he took guys at both of those spots. But this season coming up, the 2025 draft, hopefully we're not picking number 1, and so that first round pick could now be trade fodder, because he's not scared to trade back and find some gem in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. And so it's like, yeah, that first round, we can come back off of that. And then we still got 2 second-round picks, because the gift that Lovie Smith gave us from the Panthers, keeps giving. So, you could flip that for more, middle-type picks. And Poles seems to have an affinity for finding those talents wherever he's picking them, So if he can identify the traits and characteristics that he likes, and it's like he sees it more in a later round and not the first round, that first round pick is out of there for, a later round pick. So like he said, Ryan Poles said a few years ago, he ain't worried about draft picks. He's like, I get those. Those are easy. And that's like he's not stressing them. He sees the value, but he's not afraid to risk them and bring them in or flip them around. And I like that.
Sure. My last question before we get ready to get out of here, because there's a reason why we didn't bring up the 53. Come on back. I think Tuesday we're going to go ahead and do that show. It's going to be happening right around 3:00 because that's when the deadlines come. So we'll know a whole lot by then. I wanted to break down the 53, but we ran out of time. But I do want to know, Trip, if this guy, if all of a sudden Jonathan Allen decided to tell the Commanders, I want to trade, if you Ryan Poles, are you first on the phone?
So we got to give up draft capital and pay him?
Oh yeah, you got to give it up. You got to give it up, Holmes. You got what do you think this is, man? What you think they're gonna gift wrap the motherfucker and give them to us?
Well, I mean, if he had like a few years on his contract still, that's one thing, But it's like, all right, we got to give up capital and we got to pay you. It's like, nah, I'm Ngakwe, nah, Allen, nah. Let me develop what we got, and then we'll check the waiver wire. But I'm not giving up draft capital and having to pay a dude.
So you on record, Trip? If Jonathan Allen decided he said he wanted a trade, you Ryan Poles, you ain't calling.
Well, I'm gonna call. I'm gonna do the due diligence and kick the tires and be like, well, all right, Commanders, what y'all want for him? And then I'm gonna be on the phone with his agent. It's like, well, what kind of deal is he looking for? So I'm gonna do that due diligence, and if the numbers add up, all right, cool. But that just seems like the expenditure of 2 different buckets of resources for that one player. And I don't know that they do that again on the defensive line after doing that for Sweat already just last season.
So
They almost did that for Judon, man.
Trip,
Almost, but he called. They kicked the tires. He was like, "All right, what you want, Patriots? All right, what you want, agent?" And then he was like, "Nah, fuck all that." And so it's like Judon is not here. So yeah, you kick the tires and you see what's up. You know, he's like, "All right, we give you that third, but he want this much money," and it's like, "Nah, we good."
Hey, Trips, I would venture to say that us fans and us podcasters are way cheaper than Ryan Poles is, because Ryan Poles ain't scared to swing for it. It don't sound like.
Oh no, but he's not. He takes those measured, calculated swings. It seems like, because many times he's giving that is like, yeah, I get the emotional, excitement about it. It's like I could get this player, but then it's like Ian Cunningham or somebody else from his team is like, "Hey, dog, blase, woo, woo, woo." And then he's like, all right. And then, so he settled down, and then so they talk him off that ledge. And then so far it seems to be it's like very prudent moves. You got the contract and money side of it to be, tight, but rewarding those that have earned it and giving them very fair deals. Everybody's happy. Then you also got the aspect of dealing with other GMs. It's like he's making deals, but he's not giving up a whole lot of capital. And from what we've seen of the players so far, it's like, oh shit, that fucker looks like he can play. And so he's being very prudent, very shrewd on so many different levels. And we're not just used to a general manager doing that. And so their patience, which sometimes the fans see as like, well, they're ignoring this spot, or they're not, filling this spot good enough. But as, these players develop and we see what we are looking at, and now we're seeing what Poles saw when he brought these players in and what the coaches are developing, it's like, okay, we got something going here. No need to, spend out of the pocket. No need to write all these blank checks. Let's develop, and then at the trading deadline, we'll see where we are and then what we need, and then who's available and how much they will cost.
All right.
So Trip, you said something super intelligent here today, and that is the fact that the Bears draft capital is probably much less valuable to them next season than it might be to others, right? And why I'm saying that, just to make things make sense, is if the Bears first rounder is like basically the 30-odd 29th pick because they've had a really good season, not as valuable to you as it would be to somebody else. You might be able to trade that thing for something real good. And I'm generally not the type of guy to suggest trading a number one pick under normal pretenses. But if it gets you to the Super Bowl, you're trading basically the 32nd pick. That's what you're really.
That's almost a Claypool shit.
But here's the thing, guys. Let me put this. Can I put it in the proper perspective?
You can, but just before you do, there is also the second rounder that we have there too. So we've got an extra second rounder from the Panthers. Again, that gift from Lovey that keeps on giving. That's going to really help us out. And basically that is our first round pick. So you could trade the Bears second or the Bears first, because it's probably going to be worth a little bit less capital than it normally would be if we have a really good season. And I don't know about the rest of you guys. I expect them to do some damage this year.
Here's let me put this in perspective, man, because I think we all revert to this, couch chair GM, bubblegum machine GM role of being extra ultra conservative and trying to be wise with the dollars. And for me, that's just like, I'm thinking that's reading into it way farther than I'm willing to go. All I do is look on the fringes of it, stay on the outside where I need to be, and look at what they do and react to that, and that's just basically where, when you hear me talk, I'm trying to put on the GM hat and think what they're thinking based on the action they've shown me, right? And the coaches thinking how he's thinking based on the actions that they've shown me, and I respond to, this whole podcast, everything we do on these podcasts, that's where my mind is instead of what I think they should do. And I believe as fans, I know Ryan Post came in here and said that I'm going to build this team through the draft, but that don't mean you don't have your phone plugged up. That don't mean you just have your phone turned off to incoming calls. That doesn't mean that when opportunities present themselves, that you just like, okay, this is one that I can't look over, that you don't take them. That's not being Ryan Pace. That's being Ryan Post and being an opportunist and doing both things equally well, drafting and taking advantage of opportunities. Because what I'm seeing is, and what I'm hearing is, guys, is a team in the front office and amongst the coaching staff that feel like they have a winner. I'm not talking about what I think. I'm talking about what they are telling me. And their actions are saying so much. And so that's my mindset. It's fun doing a podcast and, pontificating about what could we do with this and what we could do with that. If we can get this, that. You just pay attention to what they're talking about. They're telling us that we have a team that we feel like can compete for whatever right now. All we need is a little bit of luck and a little bit of growth from our quarterback. And we have a defense that can kind of, shelter him and shepherd him along the way. And I believe that, man. Call me I don't know, maybe my glass is too half. I mean, more than half.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm not, putting any limits on what this team can do. But as far as expectations, the higher expectations and they don't meet them, now it's a disappointment. Whereas if you lower expectations and then they exceed them, then it's like, oh, fucking A. So it's a level of just planning. And as far as planning goes for Poles, he's like, he wants to take the North and not give it back. So that means longevity. So that means, yes, you plan and want to win now, but you don't sacrifice, future cap flexibility or too much future draft capital to go in a hole to be like, well, all in, to this season right now to win it all right now. That's not the approach they're taking. It's more measured and more level-headed. It's like, will this help the team now or in the future or both? And they're taking the players and the contracts and the deals that are doing both. They're extending the guys, very frugally. They're bringing in younger guys who have the mentality, that can develop. And then when big guy names are available, they check them out. But if the cost is too much or they think that it might disrupt for now, even though, you bring in a Judon and he'll get you however many sacks and is like, well, that has sent us to the Super Bowl. If Poles thought that bringing in Judon or somebody like him would bring us to the Super Bowl, I'm sure he would do it. But that's going to handicap us going forward. And they're not doing it.
He almost did it. And that the reality is we almost had Judon in Chicago. Minus a tweak or a last minute post saying, no, that's too much. Whatever it was, don't know the details of it. The reality is he's almost here. Number one. Number two, I'll pull up a clip of the 1920 episode of the Football Drive. Flew standing in front. Now, I can understand if any one of y'all took this as absolute coach speak. What coach isn't going to stand in front of a room of the entire team and say, we have everything in this building right now to win it. To win it. He stands in front of his team, and I know from a coaching standpoint, me being a player, you look at that coach and you know if he's BSing you, man. And you know if he's full of shit. I looked at that and I knew that he wasn't playing when he said that. I watched the succession of the things that Poles did since he made that statement to his team. When you go make a move for Judon and get in that sweepstakes for a guy that's 32 years old that you have no business being interested in, if you don't see yourself as a team that can win it, I think we are. I believe we tempering expectations because we want to, and it just feels good for us because you don't want to go cross the line. I'm not talking about you in particular. I'm talking about us as fans. I think we should get a little bit more giddy about the promise of what a team can do when they put the right pieces together. I just believe in them, man. I really do. I saw positive stuff, and I have no reason to doubt what this team was capable of this year. I just don't.
So you used the right word, and the right word was promise. And there's two ways to promise. You can either overpromise and underdeliver, or you can underpromise and overdeliver.
Yeah, I prefer the latter.
All right. So the latter is where I'm all about it. And I was in one sales deal, and the company I was doing business with refused to give me their budget. They would not tell me what they were allowed to spend. This is a governmental contract I'm on. And I'm trying to win this business, and I can't win the business. And I'm at this level where I'm like, you know what? I've gone back and forth with this client. They refuse to give me these numbers. I'm just going to mark everything up 15% and put it in front of them and see what happens. And I told my boss this strategy, and he was like, you're crazy. I was like, well, I know that I can not only knock off this 15%, but I can also drop it down an extra 10%. So it'll look like a 25% discount overall once we get to this deal. But I got to put something in front of these clients, and they won't let me know. I have no idea what they're planning to spend on this thing. So I put it in front of the clients. What happens? The client loses his mind. This is way over budget. This is crazy. What the hell? Okay, cool, sir. I'm really apologetic. So what was that budget again? Oh, man. Did they tell me what the budget was? Immediately, they told me exactly how much they were willing to spend, and that fell right in line with that 15%. So there goes the 15%. I'll even knock it off the extra 10%. Now it's an overpromise. Sorry, an overdeliver. I'm delivering you much more value than I told you in the first place. Super happy, continued client after that. Everything is smooth and rocking and rolling. And that's sort of what my mentality is right now with the Bears. I mean, Ryan Poles has kind of overpromised us here, right? Like, we have the quarterback, we have a stellar defense. Every position group is pretty deep here. I'm impressed, but I also want to give the cushion for strange things to happen in a rookie season. There's got to be a little bit of leeway, a little bit of cushion there. I got to let the kid grow. So I'm on the under-promise, over-deliver. I think they're going to over-deliver, and I think that's going to blow all of our minds at the end of the day.
What's the word for it, kids? Practical, pragmatic? What's the word you use? What you just described yourself as being?
It's not practical. It's not pragmatic. It is really the answer. Like, the real what it is. It's how you save heartbreak, right? Like, if you meet a woman, no, seriously, it is. If you meet a woman and you go all in,
expectation, man.
Love, but that's what it is, though. If you meet a woman and you go all in, and like next thing you know, she's gone. Bro, it hurts, bro. That's
all or nothing in this world, man. It's all or nothing in this world.
But you're also thinking, Nomad's also thinking like a player's mentality. That you go into that locker room, you're not going into a season as a player cautiously optimistic. You're going balls to the fucking wall.
That's
it's
different.
like, we can win this, and so I get that perspective. But from a fan base,
you don't want to hear that shit.
Burned. It's like, you're gonna show us a little something, then we'll be behind you. But until then,
that is a fair perspective, right? Like, I'm not looking at it as I'm going into that locker room to play the game. That's the opposite. If I'm a player, I'm meeting the team. I'm getting acclimated with the feeling around this team, and I'm going balls to the wall all day long. Right, like they're different. I'm a fan. I'm on the outside looking in, right? So looking in from the outside, I have to be at. If there's one thing that I think Bears fans collectively are at this point, I think we're all realists, and we can see a little bit of BS.
No, can't speak for yourself.
No, I think you're a realist too. I think we can all see the BS when it's right in front of us. I think we can, and we've gotten good at doing it. Great question. I don't smell the BS this time around, guys. I don't see it. I don't have a lot of questions about this team. I don't. Right? Like, there's not a lot of question marks, unresolved issues. There really isn't, right? Like, the most unresolved issues for this team is, will we figure out the left tackle? Is Matt Eberflus able to turn around his trajectory of his career? And can the rookie quarterback develop quickly and become a guy? Like, that's it. And those questions basically exist on every football team in the National Football League. It's the same question. Hey, that being the case, I think they can compete. I think they can go deep. So I'm just waiting for the BS to pop, to rear its ugly head. And I don't see any hide or hair of it. I think we're gonna have an awesome season, guys. I'm actually super stoked. I'm just trying not to have my heart broken in a couple of weeks.
I understand, man, but I think Trip just found the string to my heart, and he just loosened it up, man. He pulled that bow loose, man, because from my perspective as a player, and as a player, you work your ass off to be able to get in position to compete, and you go into a game and you feel like, especially with this team, they got the pieces around them. They know that they can compete with any team in the NFL. And we as fans on the outside, and that's why they get to the stands. And we got some pretty good guys that come to the podium. They're not disrespectful to the media or the fans. And they just tell y'all, if you pay close attention, that's for y'all to speculate on the outside. We know what we are on the inside. We know what we can do. And we know what we got. We know what our plans are. We know what our goals are. And they're on the inside of there like, man, we can beat these motherfuckers. That's how they feel. And I believe I think the coaches and the front office have done due diligence to put the pieces around them to make those guys right. It's what I'm trying to tell everybody listening to my voice right now. I think just wait and let them show you. I think they came out here and gave you a snapshot with the depth of what the whole team's mentality is. They won by 20. They scored 20 plus points every game. Barely let teams in the end zone. You think that's gonna not be shown in the starters? These dudes are gonna be some serious work. I'm telling you. So because this conversation can get carried away and go on for the next hour or two, because we all in a different place for the most part about what to think, how to feel. And I'm not going to tell Bears fans how to feel. I'm just going to say, I think if you have tempered expectations, I know why. I understand why. I'm going to say from my point of view, I don't feel any of those. I don't feel that ceiling. I don't feel those walls around me. I don't feel none of that shit. As a fan, I don't, because I come from a different perspective. And so I'm just gonna say that. You guys feel how you want to feel about it. I ain't no borders, ain't no boundaries. I believe this team. If they believe it, I believe it with them.
But you know something along those lines, I saw a Twitter post, and I don't forget who it was, but it was to the effect of, unless you are all in and believe this team, when they win the Super Bowl, you're not as much of a fan and shouldn't be able to enjoy it as much as those fans that have been all in from the beginning. And I was going to go in to respond, but it's like, nah, I'm not even going to, entertain the bullshit. Because it's like, there is no right way to be a fan. Or it's like, well, I wanted to draft that guy first, so that makes me more of a fan, and you're less of a fan, and it's like, well, what the fuck does any of that even mean?
I'm just trying to uplift us. All I'm trying to do is uplift us, man. That's all I want to do.
I understand that.
I'm so glad you went down here, Trip, because there's all sorts of BS out there, man. So, no, man. I applaud where you're at. You are 100% glad. You are the eternal optimist. Is probably the best way to put it. I've been kicked in the shins by Bears teams for decades, so my shins hurt a lot, and I hope they get to heal this season. Not only that, I like the way this season is going to turn out. I will probably wind up bionic because I think they're going to crush it. But there's folks out there who are trying to steal your fandom and direct your fandom and
I know.
and put words out there that go along the lines of, if you did not believe in this, you cannot be. There's gatekeepers out there, and it's ridiculous and silly.
There's 2 tears in a bucket, motherfucker.
You actually that was
Road
Flavor
Dog,
Flav.
Jesse James.
Right,
That was Flavor Flav. I got you though. I got you. So you know what I'm saying? There's gatekeepers out there. I think it's the silliest thing. At the end of the day, you're all Bears fans, whether you love Justin Fields or you love Caleb Williams or you're still in love with the Bears, right? Like however you want to slice it, you're a Bears fan. This season is going to change a lot of Bears. A lot of people were in a position a little while ago to take their ball and go home and go watch Pittsburgh Steelers and things to that effect. And it's all good and grand. All I'm saying is, I think we have one hell of a football team, and I think we're all at this point. We're all behind the football team. Those of you who have questions, I get it. I think all of your questions will be answered in the first few weeks of this season, and then we're in for one hell of a ride, y'all. So buckle up, get your popcorn. You know what I'm saying? Get your juju fruits because it's gonna be one hell of a ride.
Man, listen, we've given you guys 2.5 hours worth of content straight up. Now, let me say this to you. If you don't think that's at least worth a like, then I don't know how you were raised, people. I don't know how your parents raised you.
Who raised?
How are you not going to
By the way, we hit 100 in the chat a little while ago today, so I didn't bring it up. I meant to bring it up, but we did. So shout out to you guys for giving us some love and joining us here. But I think that should constitute at least 100 likes. So let's get them likes.
We hit 135. I can see all of it right here.
There we go.
Yeah, we hit 135, man. People are starting to get excited about us, man. But back to the channel, man. Make sure you hit the like button. Jesus Lord, man, that's not going to hurt nothing but help the algorithm, and it helps the Bears fan base because it gets more of our content out there. That's all that does. It doesn't necessarily help a channel, but how you can help a channel is doing a free thing. It's free 99 to hit the subscribe button, and we need your support that way. But if you're willing and able, you can also become a member for $4.99. Doesn't hurt that much. We really need some video editors. We really need producers. We need things to really grow this channel out and get our wings flapping. You know what I mean? We were really close, had some stuff going on, but with the unfortunate loss of Chris, man, set us back a little bit. J2K came in and played a hell of a role for us for a time being. He needed to go and do his own thing. So shout out to J2K for his role in helping us get to the level we needed to get to, but we still need a lot more help, and that's going to come with support from the community. So if you are not a member, but you are willing and able and can pass up $4.99 a month, man, we can surely use your help, man. We've got to get some people in here to put us in places where we need to be, get some help we need. You're talking about combine, you're talking about training camp, you're talking about just putting us in place. We can throw parties for you guys. I might not be there, but I can set it up for people that want to be there to party on the Nomad Network dime, man, and have a good time. We can turn it into a show. It's all kinds of things we can do. Charity, all that stuff. You can pay homage that way too. And so I just wanted to say that, you guys, anybody that's willing and able and are, you generous enough to give up $4.99 a month, we will definitely put the shit to good use. I can promise you that. you got my word on it. But with that being said, man, 2.5 hours worth of content has come and gone. We need to pass it on to Country Santa for some pleasantries before we get ready to get out of here.
Hey, No Maniacs, I told you it'd be an interesting show, and it was 2.5 hours worth. Thank you for sharing your time. Hope it was informative and entertaining. Always great talking to you guys, and I hope you all have a safe, wonderful, blessed week. Trip?
Yeah, big up to all the Nomaniacs. Always fun coming home. It looks exciting. Definitely looks exciting what the Power of Polls Compels Us has put together. Make sure you kick it over at the channel at Sports Chicago Style.
That's my guy. Yo, shout out to these three guys. Triple R, obviously. Thanks for holding it down with us. Brian Country Santa, not so Santa today. And Nomad, thanks for holding it down. Great show as per normal. Just want to give you guys a little bit of love for getting me through this show. We had a great show. Now to give you guys some love out there, y'all Nomaniacs, you super Nomaniacs. Sean Rogers is out there. Robert Lee, the Plankster, again, super Nomaniac Plankster. My guy Drew Ha, he says, just pour some maple syrup on them shins, stick some phone books, call out game on, and take those shots to the playoffs. So he's ready to rock and roll, and he's saying I should be too. I'm with it. Reality is I'll yell car before I do all of that on the way. Trust me, that's some Canadian stuff, y'all. He knows what I'm talking about. Anyways, Michael Copeland, shout out. Aunt Moss, shout out. Minister Charles Johnson held it down with us for a little bit today. We've got the Bears 85, Just B, the Scrolls. The Scrolls said something real interesting there a little while ago. Anyway, Scrolls, I'll get you next time. Plankster's with us for sure. Cornelius Squalls, Dan Brown holding it down with us. I did say Bruja, I'm sure. Joseph Belinsky, Joseph Archer. Hendricks was with us today. Bear Truth 9 held it down for a little bit. King Booker World is out there. Robert Lee, Scottish Bear, Jojo Loco, Brian Heinz. I'm butchering your last name, Brian. I'm sorry. I apologize. Dr. Earl is with us today. Patty Laura. The Nodge was out there with us. Super No Maniac, the Nodge, AC Adam. Man, we had, and no love for Don Byrne. A little bit of love for David Woods, although I think he may be a Packers fan. Nick Rembert, what's up? What's up? You can tell me differently in the chat there, David. I will apologize later, but I still think he might be a Packers fan. Jason Troy's out there. Chris Foster, who I believe is probably a Don Byrne burner account, but hey, it is what it is. In any event, y'all. Awesome chopping it up. I think we're going to have one hell of a season. A couple more days, we'll figure out exactly who's left on this team. And I'm as excited as I'm going to be until like week 7. When we get to week 7 and things start to shape up, oh boy, I think this team is headed in the right direction. That's what the Scrolls was talking about. Scrolls said 13-4 is the Scrolls prediction, plus an NFC championship. And you know what? Dream the impossible dream. I think that dream might just well be possible. So let's get it, y'all.
Wait a minute, kid.
What are two?
You should have done this. You should have done this earlier. And I got to get off the show now, but I promise I will do it on the next. I think we'll probably do a Nomad Live next. I'll do it on that show because I thought this would come up somewhere around mid-show, but I forgot and thought that you might bring it up. I got to get ready to get off this show, but go ahead and do your close on this. But I promise the next show I'll sign up for that.
So you could have let me do my close and then said that, but that's okay. We'll do the close either way. And I expect that you're going to sign up. I expect that as many No Maniacs as possible sign up to the Superflex Fantasy Football League, whether it's the free league just so we can hang out and have some fun, whether it is the pay league if you want to really flex your muscle and put your money where your mouth is. The process is real straightforward. You head over to the-nomad-network.com, click on the Superflex link, get yourself a Superflex t-shirt. I will send you a link to join the league, and you're in. Long story short, that's basically the entire process. We'll figure things out as we move forward. Realistically, let's just us playing fantasy football, chopping it up and talking trash as we should be doing. Anyhow, podcast is coming soon. Join the league. Either one, we'd love to have you. Superflex.
My guy. That's what I'm talking about. I will honor my promise. I guarantee you that. I never promise something and don't deliver. If it's in my control, I take care of it, and I will do that on the next show. It just got a little bit late, and we got into a hell of a conversation, and I completely forgot about it. So I apologize to everybody and kids for that, but I will make up for it on the next show. Just got to get to me earlier, because once I start flowing, I'm flowing. But how I want to close this one tonight is really, it has to do with everything we were talking about tonight. And it's about expectations. And I'll start with myself personally. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. Anybody that's lived enough life experience can tell you that all you got to do is live long enough and experience. And you don't even have to live a hell of a long life. All you have to do is have the proper life experience and know what I'm talking about is real. And that is letting people define what you are. Somebody else's expectations based on what you're supposed to be, letting people graft and design who the hell you're supposed to be. I don't let nobody tell me who I am. I don't let anybody tell me what I can or cannot do. Ever. In life, you can talk your ass off to me and it don't make a damn bit of difference, because if I'm determined about making and seeing something come through, guarantee you I'm gonna make it work. Manifest come from somewhere. In my soul. Things I've been through in my life. I've seen it. Overcome it. And manifested what I want to see. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like people, and this is no strike at Michael Copeland, but I'm not gonna let nobody tell me that what we do as a network and channel and these podcasts, I have to be a visual personality. I don't give a damn what nobody thinks I need to be. We've been doing just fine, and we will grow. Regardless of, I've seen so many, I just say this, I've seen so many bad examples of people that go out there and look to be a visual personality on these podcasts and are looking for that adulation and that admiration from people and want to be famous. I've seen so many bad examples of why not to do that. I don't even have time to tell you, but there's a reason why I do what I do. There's a reason why I do what I do. Not running from nothing. It's just what I choose to be, what's comfortable for me. I choose to let my voice be my guiding light. And it doesn't matter if you think seeing me makes a difference or not. This is just what I choose. You either take it or leave it. But I don't let anybody tell me, oh, you can't be successful because nobody can see you. The hell with what you're talking about. I'm going to be successful because you think I can. And so that's what I want to lead this right into the conversation about the Bears and our team. This is our team. And I'm not here to tell anybody what they should think about the Bears, because you have every right to feel how you want to feel about the Bears. I'm going to tell you how it feels on the inside of a team at a certain level. It's really, really close-knit unit, and they think they can win. And I think we're cheating ourselves as fans by not just believing in them and let them dictate, what the outside thinks. I'm just going to go all in. I don't feel those walls. I don't feel that ceiling. And that's just me. And you can fan how you want to, but don't expect coming on this podcast, I'm feeling the same way because I believe in them as much as they do. And so you take it how you want to take it. Keep believing what you want to believe, but I'm going to do it this way. And we'll close just like this. If you can really think it, if you can really see it, then you can absolutely manifest it. This is all up to you. All you got to do is get out of your own way and let's see it happen. But with that being said, we are